All right. Welcome back to the Military Retirement Podcast. I'm here checking to see if my microphone's on. It is. You can hear me? Good?
Yeah, I got you. Welcome, everybody.
Awesome, man. So, dude, I know it's been. We missed you last week, John. We missed you. How's everything been?
It's been good, man. I took a long-needed break. We went to a place on the other side of the island. I stayed there for 3 or 4 days. Did nothing but relax. Got a little bit browner. Got sunburned. Went and took a lot of walks. Did some swimming. All the good things.
All the good things, man. Relax and all that. Yeah, I like that, dude. When life gets overwhelming, I feel like I need to get away, and I'm glad you got to do that, man. It really is. And what a beautiful scene, man. You sent me a photo of, was that like a picture from your hotel room or from your Airbnb or something?
Yeah, the place I stayed at is on the other side of the island. It's called Agrigento, and right there in that vicinity is a couple things. So they have a big Valley of the Temples, which is a bunch of old Greek temples. They're probably the best preserved temples in the entire world, including in Greece. A lot of temples there, and then around the surrounding areas, you can find little historical spots where they have archaeological digs and stuff like that. So that, and then the place where we were at, there's a place called Scala di Turkey, which is the Turkish stairs, I guess is what you call it. And it basically looks like rock formations that have been calcified, I guess is a good word to use, over years and years and years and years. So it resembles this kind of flowing staircase coming down, and it wraps around like the side of the coast. And it looks like, even up close, it looks like white marble is basically what it resembles.
Wow. Yeah. So like whenever I go to Europe, I'm always amazed at like the beauty of it, how it, like the town squares were even formed. Over here in like the US, it's a lot of like shopping centers and things like that. You drive down the highway, exit shopping centers. Over there, it's like the town squares and stuff. Even in like when you go to Central and South America, because of the Spanish, when they conquered that area, and they built those towns like that. So there's always a town square there, and then kind of goes out into the regular, like the homes and all that stuff on the outskirts. Always impressive, man. It really is. Hey, real quick shout out to Navy Cop MA1 says it is on. Good morning, all. Hey, good to have you on, Navy Cop. As always, you're always here with us. We're happy to have you on, man. He says pop over to Naples at some point. A bit dirty and crowded, but the history up through World War II is amazing. I've never had the pleasure of being over Naples, but I'm sure you have, John.
Naples.
Don't you live there? Like you live right by there, don't you?
Pretty close. It's not too far away yet.
Yeah, I've heard good and bad things about it. I don't know. There you go. Scala de, how do you pronounce that? Turkey.
Yeah, that's basically it. That's one piece of it, but it basically wraps around the corner of the island there.
That's freaking incredible, man. You can just walk on that stuff.
Yeah, you can walk around it and walk up the top of it. Where we were staying at is basically on the end of it. So it's not really, it's touristy, but it's not really touristy. Like a lot of people don't know about it. So you can actually hit the back end of the whole thing. The whole formation ends there where the beach starts, where we were staying at.
Very nice, man. And meanwhile, we have like La Jolla here in San Diego, and you got the tourists trying to touch the seals. And not like the actual seals, not the Navy SEALs, right? And you're not supposed to. They're wildlife, right? So it's always on the news. Like tourists, get sighted or whatever, and sometimes they just catch them on video, and then whatever, nothing happens. I did real quick, John, want to give a shout out to this company that I recently teamed up with over on the Green Log Book, and they reached out to me and they're doing some awesome stuff. Let me actually pull up their site here if I can. Looks like our layout has changed a little bit on this thing. Plus, okay, here we go. Share screen, and it's called Commemorative Concrete, right? And I'll put them up on the screen here. Commemorative Concrete, and they do these cool things, man, with these stones. And I know I talked a little bit about it before in one of our previous shows, but
Yeah, we brought it up.
yeah. So I mean, the Korean War veteran standing stones, Iwo Jima standing stones. I love that one. Fire department standing stone. You know, all these they're very pro veteran, pro first responder, and they do these standing stones. And actually, the guy Justin, the owner of this company, sent me this stone right here. If you can see that, dude, the details are incredible, man. They're incredible. It says Semper Fi. I mean, you can even read Semper Fi on the thing up here, right? And it's got this thing. It's like 12 pounds, dude. I mean, you could throw this at somebody and defend your house if you needed to, right? If it was sitting in your office,
or hide your keys under it.
Yeah, or hide your keys under it or something. But dude, I mean, I was impressed at the quality of it. I was impressed at like, it's like weather sealed. It's got like a shiny seal on it. It looks great on my front yard. And just shout out to Justin, commemorativeconcrete.com, man. These guys are doing something awesome. And actually, what he did was when he reached out, he's like, I'd like to give one away to one of your listeners. So whoever's watching YouTube on LinkedIn or whoever. So I thought about how we can do this, right? Because I know YouTube has a couple of terms and conditions for giveaways and things like that. So what I'm going to do, and what I did do yesterday, was create a entry form on Google Forms, right? And basically, as long as you read all the terms and conditions on there, the rules and disclaimers and all that, submit your information, and then we're going to be doing a random drawing. I think I put on here Saturday, July 19th. So we'll give it a week to kind of get some entries and all that. And then we'll do a random drawing. And then it'll come straight from Justin. He's over in Washington State. And he'll send it out to you. He'll cover shipping. And it's really awesome. And you get your choice of military or first responder standing stone. It has to be from those who served site. So here, I'm actually going to post it up on the comment here, the link to the form, and then it'll go into the description as well of this video. So shout out to Justin. I love it. And dude, when I got it, I didn't realize that it was going to be so substantial, like heavy. And he also does engravings. I'll have to show that later on, because I didn't transfer it over to my computer here yet. But you can actually engrave your rank and your name and the years you served on it. But I thought, what a great gift for like retirements, for if somebody's like a going away gift or something. We always do like the plaques, hey, you're going away,
shadow
here's your
box, stuff like that,
boxes and stuff like that. This is something different, because you have folks who usually move to their like forever home after they retire. And what a nice gift, like have it put out in the front yard somewhere. I just got my front yard completely redone, pergola and all that stuff out here. And I'm going to put it out there near the lights, it shines at night or whatever. And they made it look nice. So, excellent little gift. Awesome thing. Shout out to Justin, commemorativeconcrete.com. That's what it looks like. Look at the details on that thing, man. They even have an army one, dude.
Yeah. All it's missing is the handle on top, and you can use it as a kettlebell and do some kettlebell swings in the front yard before you go to work.
Hey, Justin, if you're listening, I know you're listening. Hey, that might not be a bad idea. A little handle, make it round like a kettlebell.
Rounder.
Put the logo on there. have a concrete kettlebell. Man, that's awesome, dude.
Yep.
Because military and veterans, we still like to keep in, exercise and keep fit. So, yeah, this is nice, man. It really is. And he could, I think the engraving goes right here in the front somewhere. So, shout out to him. And the back of it looks like straight concrete, man. It's nice and rough. I love this stuff, man. And yeah, I mean, I hope my brother's not listening. He's in the Navy, and this is going to be one of the gifts. I think I'm going to get him when he retires here next year. So,
Nice.
Mike, if you're listening, disregard, please.
Oops.
I don't know if he listens to the podcast, man. It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, man, shout out to them. And yeah, if you want to enter to potentially win one of these, the link is in the comments, and then I'll also put it in the description of this video afterwards.
18.
Are you writing down the link?
No. I was sorry. I don't know if you can hear that typing. I was trying to pull up this thing. I saw something pop up on my screen, and it was just a friendly reminder of honoring veterans, and this is an AI overview, so take it as you will. But yesterday, back in 1862, President Lincoln signed the law for the Army Medal of Honor, and so that was the first enactment of Medal of Honor. And then they slowly after that had their first and second and third and many more, thousands actually, of Medal of Honor recipients over the years. So just want to give a shout out to the Medal of Honor recipients out there. If you're still out there, if you're listening, if you've served in the military and received that medal, it takes a lot to get it, a lot of selfless service and a lot of sacrifice beyond the call of regular duty that we have. So just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. If you didn't know, that's a fun fact for the day.
Yeah, that's a huge honor, man. So, John, I mean, I'll tell you, man, what bugs me about the Medal of Honor thing is when people say Medal of Honor winner.
Right.
Like you didn't win the Medal of Honor. It's not like a contest, right?
No, it's definitely
you
not.
earned it. Yeah, he's a recipient. He or she is a recipient of the Medal of Honor, and that bugs the hell out of me when I hear that. Oh, he won this, he won that. Well, you don't win the Purple Heart. You don't win it. It's not a contest.
Yeah.
So
I'm curious to note. So this says the Navy's was established in 1861, a year before. I'm curious to know if, like, when the Air Force, of course, maybe the Marines Medal of Honor falls under the Department of the Navy. Do you know?
Yeah, I want to say yes. Great question. You're testing my Marine Corps knowledge right now, and I've never been asked that. So that's something to look up. Does the Medal of Honor fall under the Navy's?
Of course, the Air Force, and then I don't know if the Space Force actually has a Medal of Honor. I mean, it's a new branch of the service. They've only been around for a short number of years.
Not sure that they have any recipients as of yet.
Probably not yet.
No. I mean, it's all kind of like cyber warfare now. So I don't know how Medal of Honor is usually like, going above beyond the call of duty, right? Jumping on a grenade or something, just risking your life to save the life of others, right? And I don't know that there will be many from here on forward because it is, just a lot of cyber warfare now versus, fighting in the jungles or something, or urban terrain or anything like that.
Yep. Yeah. Hopefully, we can start giving out less medals of honor. That would be a great thing. I mean, it's great to recognize folks who do that in combat, but if we can alleviate that combat stress and have people actually not have to be in harm's way during conflicts, that would be great. I know it's a pie in the sky idea, but ultimately I hope that's where we're in, that direction we're headed in, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to share, last week we had Robert Luna. We've had him on the show before, and he did, he was the Coast Guard guy who did, or retiree who did the walk across the U.S. For anybody out there listening that doesn't know who Robert Luna is, walked across the U.S. from Alabama to Los Angeles. I had the honor of meeting up with him and his whole crew as they finished off their walk across the U.S. Over in Long Beach, California. I drove up there. I'm not too far away from Long Beach. I drove up there and was able to greet him. Met with the command leadership of the Coast Guard Long Beach detachment up there, or the base up there. Can't recall what the name of it was. But small base, but was able to meet with the leadership up there. Had a great time. Got a chance to interview Robert. That was the first time meeting him in person. And since then, man, he's been doing some amazing things. So he's got his nonprofit AL to LA. I'll actually bring it up on stage here. AL to LA. So what you're seeing right here is a home being built. So this home is being built for this gentleman right here. World War II veteran, 3 Purple Hearts, 3 Bronze Stars. He goes by Preacher. He lives, I want to say it's somewhere in Missouri or Mississippi. I can't recall, but his home was damaged. Mississippi. Yeah. His home was damaged by some weather. And the gentleman's family reached out to Robert and his team saying, hey, look, we can't get any assistance to help rebuilding his home. There's just too much damage. He bought a plot of land and built his home on this plot of land many, many years ago. I think Robert mentioned that he bought I don't know how many acres it was for like $3,000 back in like the 70s or 60s or something. And he just couldn't get any help with rebuilding this thing. So they reached out to Purple Hearts of North Carolina, and through them and different organizations together, they were able to rebuild this gentleman's home, build him an entire new home from concrete slab on up, right? And get furniture donated, get appliances donated, and basically gave this man a new home, a new life in a new home on his own land, which was awesome. And shout out to AL to LA and Robert Luna, his team, for doing that. And he also recently announced that he air fresheners 3 for $10. I like that. He recently mentioned that he was gifted by a donor, 100 acres to create a therapeutic retreat for veterans, which was amazing. His nonprofit was gifted, not him. His nonprofit was gifted 100 acres in Alabama. And I thought that was amazing. I was like, yeah, I would love to do that. Nobody's going to gift me 100 acres in California. So I'm going to have to go out to like the East Coast or something and get some, maybe a nonprofit started over there if I want to do something similar. But just amazing stuff happening, man. It's great to see like veterans taking care of veterans. This family had nowhere else to turn to help this World War II. This dude's like a war hero, man. 3 Purple Hearts. He got shot 28 times. 3 Purple Hearts, 3 Bronze Stars. You don't see that too often. And and
that's pretty much an anomaly.
Yeah. And just the fact that they could help this guy out, amazing.
Throw this up on the screen for you real quick.
Navy cop, there you go.
See it,
coming through with the knowledge.
Navy Share Single Award, Medal of Honor, Navy and Marine Corps, 10 U.S. Code 8296 dictates that it also covers the Coast Guard.
It makes sense. That makes sense because everything under the Navy falls, to the Marine Corps. We have like Navy Marine Corps achievement medals. The Marine Corps has, we fall under all Navy regulations for the most part, right? So, yeah, that does make sense that the Medal of Honor is cited under the Navy. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for that, Navy cop. Coming through with the knowledge, man. I like that. Let me see. So next up, John, I wanted to bring up this one thing that, so I posted a video on the Green Logbook about property tax exemption for veterans. And it was really a hot topic. And I was getting just comments upon comments, both good and bad. A lot of people just people want to comment just to comment, and that's fine, right? Whatever. It's a public forum, whatever. Uh, but it was on property tax exemption specifically for California, and people have their thoughts on California. It is what it is. I just happen to put the video up because I live here in Southern California. But let me actually pull up the. Let me stop this one here. Pull this guy up here. Where is that? Here you go. Here we go. Okay. So as I mentioned before, I nerd out on legislation and bills and stuff like that. I love reading this stuff. I don't know why. Call me weird, whatever. Call me strange. But this one just kind of hit home because it affects me. It affects other veterans in my community in Southern California, things like that. And if you're listening, this may affect you if you're a homeowner. Senate Bill 296 in California. Okay, so this thing was introduced back in I think it was February 10th, 2025. And I'll preface this by saying that this is not the first time this bill has been introduced. From what I gather, this thing has been, or similar bills to this have been attempted in the past several times, with it basically the bill dying and going nowhere. Excuse me. So this one was introduced by Senator Archuleta. And essentially what it is if you are 100% VA disabled and you have that VA rating, then if the bill goes through, you will be property tax exempt. Okay, so they introduced it and it had all this wording on here, and they amended it twice since then. And let me go through the Second Amendment here. So as you can see that they crossed out a couple things here. It says if the veteran is, and they crossed out 100% disabled, and this is not because they're discounting this. This is only because they reworded the whole thing. Okay. If the veteran is blind in both eyes, has lost 2 or more limbs, or is totally disabled as defined as a result of injury or disease incurred in military service. Before, in the initial draft that was submitted, this word is "and." Okay, so as we know, words mean things. So essentially, when it was first introduced, you had to fulfill all 3 criteria. You have to be blind in both eyes, have lost 2 or more limbs, and be totally disabled to get property tax exemption in California. Now it's or, excuse me. So not all of them, just one of these 3 criteria. Let me see here. And as you go down, the veteran is blind in both eyes, has lost the use of 2 or more limbs, or is totally disabled as a result of injury or disease incurred in military service. And a lot of folks had questions about what exactly is totally disabled. What does that mean, according to this amendment? And the definition is under here, 2C3. Totally disabled means the United States Department of Veterans Affairs or the military service from which the veteran was discharged has rated the disability at 100%, or has rated the disability compensation at 100% by reason of being unable to secure or follow a substantially gainful occupation. Again, here's that "or." So either 100% VA disabled, or whatever this one is, rated 100% by reason of being unable to secure employment. Okay, and over here gives you a definition of what a veteran is. I mean, you can read that for yourself. But it has to be the primary property of the veteran, right? It all spells it out right here. And a lot of questions that I got on the video in the comments were, what about the veteran spouse? Like, do they rate it as well? Well, that's a good question. The property owned by the veteran with the veteran spouse as a joint tenancy in common, or community property owned by the veteran or the veteran spouse as a separate property owned with 1 or more persons to the extent of the interest owned by the veteran spouse, or both the veteran and the veteran spouse. Okay, and it goes on. I mean, all the definitions are here. I shared the link to this. Actually, I'll put it up here as well in the comments. But it's a good piece of knowledge, man. And the thing is, they're going to be looking at this amendment tomorrow. So let's see here. Summary votes. I think the next one is tomorrow. Actually, I know for a fact it's tomorrow. I just don't know where the link is. But for the sake of keeping this going, I would follow this Senate Bill 296 if you're in California looking to get property tax exemption and want to follow this. They will be looking at this tomorrow. The Senate will be. So stay tuned on that. Hopefully it goes through. That would save many veterans in Southern California, a ton of money, several thousands. And currently there's like 20 states in the US that are tax exempt. So if you want a quick rundown of that, I think I got to pull it up here somewhere. Oh gosh. Tax exemptions, Alabama, Alaska. Oh no, hold on a second. I'm just reading off states. The hell? Let's see, Arkansas, Florida, Hawaii, Maryland, Michigan, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, Virginia. Thought there was some more of that. But yeah, currently 20 states that I know of that are property tax exempt. Hopefully California can be in there. We'll see how it goes. It's been kind of rocking the last couple of years. So I'm curious.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky in California. They got a lot of different taxes on a lot of different things, and they tend to be higher than most of other places in the nation. So
yes.
Yeah.
Dude, I was amazed when even for like gas, when I went to I took my son recently to Annapolis to go to the Naval Academy out there for a summer session. And even just the gas, man, the gas in that part of Maryland, it was like, I don't know, it was like $3.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, there's places downtown San Diego here where it's like $6 a gallon. I go either on base, or I go to because the base is right, very close, or I go to my local Costco, which is like usually like $3.99 or something. Even that's a little high, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys pay over there in Italy by like what, the liter?
Pay by the liter. It's about $1.75 a liter for diesel fuel. I think it's a little less for gasoline.
I don't even know what that comes out to per gallon.
3.8 liters is 1 gallon. So I don't know, $7-8 a gallon, basically.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's even higher. Well, I mean, you can't really do anything about it over there, right? It's not like a
you
US
can
thing
if you have a
SOFA
status and SOFA agreement, then you get a little bit of a discount on it, and they peel off some of the taxes. But other than that, but you're only allotted so many liters of fuel every month as well. So there's that.
Yeah. Let me see here. I had one more thing I wanted to bring up here. It's one of these feel-good stories that I read online. It's this. Let me stop the screen here. It was no, let me take that off. Stop screen. Good. Still, yeah, they mess with the layout on this thing, man. I'm trying to figure out what the hell I'm pressing. This veteran over by Sacramento, California, up north from me, he recently turned 100 years old. And he was requesting 100,000. That's what he wanted for his birthday, 100,000 letters for his 100th birthday, right? So, World War II veteran, turning the big 100. He was a corporal in the United States Marine Corps Raider Regiment in World War II, and he fought in Iwo Jima and helped liberate the island of Guam. Now he lives at the Solstice Senior Living Facility in Lodi, which is right by Sacramento. He received 2 Purple Hearts, 1 in Guam and 1 in Iwo Jima. I mean, this guy is like he's a piece of history. He's a piece of history, right? And they have his, what is it? Anyone interested can send a postcard or letter to Frank Wright, Stockton Marine Corps Club, P.O. Box 691045, Stockton, California. I'm actually going to put that on there on the chat for anybody who wants to send this gentleman a postcard or letter saying happy birthday, 100th birthday, and thank you for your service type of deal. I'm gonna send one. I just saw this yesterday, and I thought, what a cool thing to send somebody something. That's all he wants for his birthday, nothing else. So I say that I have no idea what else he wants. Right? I'm just reading what I'm reading. But very cool, man. I mean, I wish I had a picture of him here somewhere. Oh, here it goes.
Words. His birthday wish: 100,000 birthday cards.
I'd like to have that if I could. I have over 50 that came in just from one school.
Send him a postcard. Why not? All right, let's get that off the screen there. Okay, cool. All right, next order of business. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Navy cop. There was a YouTube video of Frank going back to Marine Corps boot camp a couple of years ago. Great little video. I'm gonna have to look that up. I had no idea that existed. I drive by MCRD here, Marine Corps Recruit Depot. I never went to the Recruit Depot like for boot camp, but I've been on the depot many times, and every time I see it, I still get shivers down my spine. Like, ugh, I don't want to be here. Because I see them, right? You can see them climbing the stairway to heaven, all the recruits and stuff. And I'm like, I'm glad I never had to do that again. It was good for a while it lasted, but I'm good. I'm good. I think you're on mute. You might be on mute, John.
I am on mute. I just want to take a quick moment here in the middle of this. Hopefully, the middle of this, we'll see. Our guest is still potentially coming, so we'll see if he gets here. If he doesn't, we're going to dive into some of the topics either way. But just take a quick little break in the middle of all this and let everybody know out there, like Amazon has their Amazon days going on right now. It's for a couple more days, I think. And of course, the price is the same either way, but just wanted to give a shout out to us for sponsoring the show the way we have it set up right now currently. And we sponsor our show through the sale of this book and a few other ways that we're trying to figure out how to make this possible to continue doing this and funding it, because it's not free. We definitely put some time and effort and money into it. And just wanted to let everybody know out there, like, if you're trying to get out of the military, if you're getting out of the military soon, if you don't know what you're going to do with your life once you get out of the military, this little short book is something that can help you out with figuring out decisions, figuring out what kind of paths to take, figuring out what your options are. It's a very quick read in the physical format. It's about 75 pages. In the digital format, depending on your font size, it's the same, but depending on the font size, it could be a little bit shorter or longer. We have a couple links to some resources in there. We've got a lot of good information in there, and it's just a high level overview of things. Hopefully in the future, we'll be tuning that in a little bit and dialing it in a little bit more and adding some content to it. That's the beauty of these digital books. And also the physical book will be coming out hopefully very soon, still reviewing and trying to get that sorted out. But just to let everybody know, if you want to support us, not only by watching and listening to the show on YouTube or on Spotify or on Apple podcasts or wherever you might listen or watch the show, another good way is to either, if you need the book, it's available $2.99. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you can get it for free and download it to your Kindle device or your phone. And if you know somebody out there who's getting ready to make the transition from military to civilian life, it's a nice little stocking stuffer, a nice little gift to pass on to somebody to help them out. It's kind of the whole purpose of what we're doing here, is to help out the next soldier, sailor, Marine, Space Force person, Air Force person, get across that hump and get to the other side to civilian life as easily as possible and with as much help and resources as they can have.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, John. It's always a this is a good piece of gear. It's always going to be a good piece of gear because there's always going to be people leaving the military and not knowing which direction to go after, right? The path after you leave the service, after you kind of leave your tribe per se, right? Leave all that camaraderie, that daily battle rhythm. It's a tough one. It can be a tough one, right? Some people, acclimate better to it than others. I recently sat down with one of our previous guests that we had on here, Pedro Zambrano. So he runs this very cool group of veterans called Veterans Coffee Club, and I found out about it. He invited me on this thing via LinkedIn, and I sat down with them. I think it was yesterday, and it was yesterday morning, and essentially we just it was just kind of like a roundtable of veterans that just talked about their experiences, all right, and talked about what they're going through, troubles with finding a job, troubles with, doing their resume, just real things that are happening in daily life of a veteran after you leave the service. And he invited me on there, and I shared, my experience. I shared the fact that, it wasn't easy at first because my resume I literally just took my fitness report and slapped it on a document and just kind of tried to make it look nice and pretty. And I was getting no response. I was like, shoot, man, I thought I did something in the military. Why is nobody looking at me, looking at my stuff? And come to find out that that's not what you do. You actually have to civilianize your resume and not make it look like standard naval letter format type of deal, right? But it was great there was probably about 12 maybe veterans in there, through, I want to say it was not MS Teams, it was like through a Google Meet type thing, like a Zoom thing. And it was just good to be around other veterans, talk to other veterans who were going through issues, because we've talked a lot about this, John, and we've kind of worked through a lot of stuff. And going from the time that I left the service, went through this little dip, and then came back out, like I've seen myself grow, and I've seen many other veterans grow over this time. And I felt a responsibility to pass that forward. Like, it's going to be okay. You're just going through a hump right now. The dark times will go away as long as you keep your eye on the prize, have a goal, right? And actually, I wrote this down yesterday, yesterday. I woke up. I keep this by my bed, right? This little notebook. And I woke up probably at like maybe 2 a.m, and I wrote this little thing down. It's leaving the military and being thrust into civilian world is like being on a boat in the middle of the ocean with no paddle. You're at the mercy of the waves, just floating, but you look around the boat and notice a stick in a sail. And you, being prior military and knowing how to adapt and overcome to any scenario, build a sail and use that momentum of the wind and the waves to navigate towards somewhere meaningful, right? And this is just, I'm sure I was half asleep when I'm writing it. I was having trouble reading my own handwriting because I'm writing it with my eyes closed and stuff, right? But that's essentially what it is, man. You're stuck on a boat, and that's what it feels like with no momentum. And the thing is, you have to trust in the process. You have to look ahead, and attach yourself to people who have been there and done that. I think that's what helped me get through that slump. Because without that, dude, I was just kind of sitting in my own head, like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, I can't do this. If I continue doing the same thing, I'm going to continue feeling the same thing. And I was tired of having that victim mentality. So, and not really victim mentality, but I was tired of being in that hole. So I figured, we got to do something different. So it was good to connect with these other veterans and let them know. And a lot of them reached out to me on LinkedIn, say, they wanted to hear more. They were interested in the podcast and the YouTube channel and all that. So I shared all that stuff with them. But it was great to connect with other veterans, and especially what Pedro, if you're out there listening, thank you for what you're doing, man. That's an incredible group of folks. And one of them asked me to come out and have a cigar with them. I'm like, dude, I don't smoke, but I can share some wisdom over some whiskey if you want. So we'll see if he takes me up on that one.
Yeah, I find myself, especially now lately, spending a lot of time with military members around the base, people that I bump into, people that I interact with. And I find myself in a position where I'm doing a lot of one-on-one mentorship with folks who are maybe a year out, 6 months out, 2 years
Right.
out. And it's just conversations. It's not like sitting down and having a brain picking session, as they so call it, but it's more of just casual conversations in passing, maybe stop for a few minutes and talk, or sit down if there is an opportunity to have coffee or something like that, or if we're having lunch at the same time, and just sit down and have conversations with folks. And through these conversations, as with the conversations that we have here on the podcast, I find myself doing a lot of mentorship and a lot of
Yeah.
kind of not necessarily steering and guiding, but just giving advice on my personal experience, on what I've seen happen. And that's why I'm hoping that Terrence can make it still today. But if he can't, no big deal, because he wanted to dig into the overseas, getting out overseas, retiring overseas, or transitioning out of the military overseas, which I've done actually. Technically just one of those, but definitely retired and overseas now currently. But even getting out after the first 6 year stint after active duty, first 6 years, getting out and actually exiting the military in Europe. I mean, I know it's tricky in the States. It's even trickier when you're in a country and maybe you do or don't speak the language. Maybe you do or don't know what the tax laws are. Maybe you do or don't have, your driver's license or anything. It's like some of those things we take for granted in the States. It's really, truly challenging, but it's also, even though it's challenging, it's really, really, really rewarding on the other end of that. Once you figure out how to navigate those paths and how to figure out what to do with housing and job stuff and all that stuff. And again,
Right.
Depending on what you want to do, if you want to get into contracting, if you want to do your own business, if you want to go back into the government civilian sector, there's multiple options and multiple ways to go. And there's a lot of different kind of gatekeepers in the way and things that you have to do to navigate those things to correctly get down that path. So even recently, a young Navy sailor, CB guy, and just been sitting with him and talking with him a lot. And he's been asking about getting out overseas because of the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on in the States. The job market's kind of crazy right now. Those kind of things. I've bumped into a couple who are supposed to get retired this year, and have since decided to stay in for another 3 or 4 years. Right. And I kind of, at the onset of it, I'm like, oh, okay, cool, interesting. And then the other side of me is like, good on them for being self-aware and understanding like what's good for their family and for their environment and for their situation, and
Right.
making that tough decision to get out of the military or stay in for a couple more years and just kind of ride the wave out until things kind of settle a little bit and get a little less choppy, even though the military side of the decision is also a choppy decision because of world affairs right now. So
That's right.
yeah, it's very, very interesting. Some of the conversations I have. We don't really have a lot of veterans groups over here and veterans clubs to speak of, but definitely during the day, during the week, and then even at some of the early evening things that happen on the base, I get to bump into a lot of veterans, talk to a lot of folks and spouses, and get their side of the story and their perspective on it. And it's really it's rewarding. It's really nice to be able to do that and be in a position to do that. And hopefully through the podcast, through the book, through what we're doing individually, we're able to lift, what is it? You raise the water so all the ships rise above.
Yeah. Big ups to you, John, man. That's awesome to be. That's something that a lot of folks need to look for is somebody, a mentor, somebody who's been there and done that. And you're not in this alone. There's millions of people who have left the military, either through medical, retirements, or just after 40 years, after an enlistment, or retired. There's tons of folks out there. Connect with somebody. We're not the only ones, right? There's millions of people, tons of nonprofits that are run by veterans. Connect with someone out there so you can know what your next step in life is. So big ups to you, John, for connecting with folks, and shout out to the CBs, man. I love the CBs. They can build anything,
Yeah.
dude. We had. I remember I was just having to talk with somebody about this too. A friend of mine and I were at when we were deployed to Iraq. We were looking for oh gosh, what was it? It was like they have like a dump out there, right? Like actual like trash dump, and we picked up like barrels, and we picked up like just grates, just whatever we can find, and we brought it over to the CB camp. And I'm like, hey, can you make us a barbecue? Because we kind of want to have like some camaraderie and some like, something on the weekends. And sure enough, man, they had a ton of barrels there already. They're like, dude, we do this all the time. They just like weld things together, and they make these. Yeah, I mean, of course they clean them out, right? But they make these barrel barbecues. So we had one for our camp out there. So shout out to them, man. They can build anything. They built a new. Well, I was in charge of the courthouse out there, like a federal building out there in Iraq. So they rebuilt one of those things for us. Got one of those things built in when I was at Marine Corps Base Hawaii. We need like a quick office, because we're having an influx of people coming in. So we just call the CBs, and they're like, yeah, we'll throw up some walls here and, make it a makeshift office right now until we can get these contracts through, Navy facilities put through. So shout out to that, man. Awesome folks. And
They
I
hooked us up downrange too. They came in, and we were struggling and trying to get our tactical operations center set up, and we had one location, and we were trying to secure another location, and we went over and shook some hands and made some friends. And then next thing you know, they brought over the construction crew and wood and all kinds of equipment and tools, and basically built a TOC in a matter of weeks. And then we were up and running, and we ran power lines and network cables and all. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, man. And here's a Navy cop. I was a construction electrician in the reserves for a couple of years. And some of these guys make the most amazing things out of scraps and acquired items. It's true. And when I was over at Marine Corps Base Hawaii, acquired, tactically acquired is what we call it, right? Gear drift is a gift, is what we say. When I was over at Marine Corps Base Hawaii, like when you wanted a plaque, so we wanted like the command board, right, for our office, like for our building. And I was contacting some folks around, and I'm like, hey, command board, do you guys do command boards? We just need like the big frame, nice wooden frame and all that stuff. So you put like the actual frames of the president, vice president, all that stuff there. And all the, the CO and all that, sergeant major. And we're getting some outrageous prices. I'm like, no, I'm not going to order this thing. Let me just go down to the CBs and see what they can do. And sure enough, they had like this whole wooden workshop there in this warehouse. And the guy was like, look, we have a lot of requests coming in for different things. We won't do it for you, but we'll show you how to do it yourself. I'm like, hey, what better than to teach a man how to fish, right? So I was like, look, let me grab a handful of my Marines and show them how to do this stuff. Not me, for them to show them how to do the cutting, the angle cutting, and, just like the varnishing and all that stuff, right? It was incredible, man. These things were incredible, and they do like laser engraving and stuff like that. So you could really make your own plaques. People were making their own plaques in there using the tools and all that. So very, very cool, man. Awesome little spot. And I will say, you touched on something, John, that I want to talk about too. It's the job market. So those folks who were smart to kind of stay in for another couple of years, because the job market is tough. And I'm seeing it through LinkedIn. I'm seeing it on Facebook. And I mean, I've even attempted to apply to a few jobs, And I don't know how, like, there's this ZipRecruiter. I applied to a job and they're like, there was maybe 2 months ago, and I got an email back saying that the person hiring has not looked at my application yet. I was like, it's been 2 months. Like, is ZipRecruiter a real thing? Like, do people actually get jobs from this? But yeah, I've seen it on LinkedIn too. A lot of folks are saying that, they're applying, they feel like they are the perfect fit for the position, right? They revamped their resume. I don't know how many times they put it out there for everybody to see. Feedback on my resume. They're like, dude, it looks good. I don't know. I've looked at somebody's resume in the past. I'm like, it looks like something I would submit. I mean, probably even better than I would submit. And I don't know. I mean, either they need more education or more experience, but they look like shoo-ins for these positions, and I've tried it myself on LinkedIn. I'm like, I've got one interview like in the last year from LinkedIn, just trying it out. Right. And I mean, a lot of it is networking, man. Like, who, the two jobs that I got when I left the service was through my networks and like who I knew. And if I didn't know, like, then I would physically go out and talk to these people. Like, I'd like to meet you. What do you think? So just getting out there and doing it, like networking at these veterans events, things like that. You got to get face-to-face time, because if not, you're just a piece of paper on a stack of other pieces of paper. They don't know Vic from John or from Joey or whoever the hell you are. They don't know me. So yeah, it's a big thing. So what I did, I applied to a veterans center supervisor position at a local university here, and I got an interview. But I physically went into the veterans center to see what the morale was like, who the people are. I didn't tell anybody I was applying there. I was like, hey, look, what do you guys do here? How's everything? How are the veterans here? What's the feedback you guys get? What's the biggest problems that you guys receive? And the guy's probably wondering, like, who the hell is this dude asking all these questions? But I'm like, I just really wanted to know, like, what may I be getting into here? And I'm going on my second interview here pretty soon. I don't know. I must have done something right, but a lot of it is trying to sell yourself, and it wouldn't hurt getting on like one of these Toastmasters. I don't know if people out there know what Toastmasters is, but it's like a public speaking club, right? And I did a lot of it, and I helped run these courses or these clubs when I was stationed over in Hawaii. But it's kind of like it's a club where you got to get up in front of people. You introduce yourself. They count your uhs and ums and all that stuff, which I'm terrible at. But yeah, there you go, Toastmasters. If you haven't jumped on one of these and you're looking to enter the civilian world, this would work wonders for a ton of folks. I know it worked wonders for me, because before this, I didn't like to get up in front of people and talk. I hated it, right? I would do it because I had to do it as part of my job, but I hated doing it. And after a while, it just became like second nature. And, you do the thing where you look at the audience, 3 points of visual contact and all that. And a lot of it with the interviews is selling yourself. And I learned that pretty quickly, because it's like, what can you bring to the table? It's a little easier when you're like a retiree and you have like other income. Like, I have an online business, I have, retirement, the VA disability. So you got other income. So it's that you walk in there with an air of confidence, a little bit more confidence. Like, hey, are you the right fit for me? What can this company do for me? What can this organization do for me? And are we the right fit for each other? I don't walk in there all nervous anymore. It's like more of a conversational thing. So I would tell folks, just practice in that public speaking piece. Practice on selling yourself a little bit, and like kind of like the elevator pitch, they say. But what do you bring to the table that they can use for their organization? And I think you'll find that it works wonders, especially during interviews. I've rambled
Yeah, it's
on
been
long
brought
enough,
up
man.
actually a few times on the podcast,
Yeah.
Toastmasters, and over the years I've heard it over and over and over and over. It's mainly just trying to get better at public speaking, but if you think about it, public speaking at a micro level is interviewing and talking to people, having conversations, being able to network with people correctly, and have good open-ended conversations with people so that you can build rapport with them fairly quickly and
Yes.
get to where you need to go, and hopefully in the grand scheme of things be able to provide value to people, regardless of what you're actually looking for on the back end.
Yeah. Because I am I have always been very introverted, but I can turn it on when I need to. Right. Like I get tired of social settings, like I'm like fatigued, and I can turn it on though, and nobody can tell. Right. I go into a party, I'm over there, hey, smiling, shaking hands. Hey, what do you do? Okay, awesome. This is great. How can I be involved? And then I got to go. I kind of escape and take a breath a little bit because I'm like, this is like it's either overstimulating. If there's too many people, it's overstimulating, or it's just mentally fatiguing to me. But I've learned that, and I mean, I go out with my wife to like parties with friends and stuff like that, and I'm like all life of the party, but I'm like afterwards, I'm like I need a rest. This sucks,
Yep.
After
Same.
during it, it's cool. Afterwards, I'm like,
Yep.
oh my god, I'm mentally fatigued. Let's see, we got Bruce Daniel here. He says, I put in almost 150
Ooh.
applications on USA Jobs and got one pre-interview. Some of the jobs I didn't expect to get, but I did expect to get an interview. Didn't happen. It's deflating. Dude, it really is. It really is. And so what I've learned from LinkedIn, probably two times that I've gotten an interview from LinkedIn, I hit up the hiring manager or whoever was listed as the hiring manager afterwards, just introduce myself. My name is Victor. I recently applied for this position. I look forward to hearing back. What exactly are you looking for in a candidate aside from what's listed on there? Just building that rapport with folks. I don't know if that's the right thing to do, but that worked for me the two times I did it. So, and Bruce Daniel goes on to say, I believe you have to leverage the people on the inside to float your name. Yes, to the hiring official. Yes, that is very true. Networking, a lot of it is who you know. People want to work with somebody who they know would do something good for their organization. People want to work with somebody they know. That's it.
Yeah, and just to kind of foreshadow this, like I know Bruce personally, and Bruce is he's a very, very smart dude, like really smart dude. So for him to put in 150 applications, I mean, that kind of gives you the gist of it. I think when we were talking to Justin Murphy about a year ago or whatever, we were having a lot of conversations with him on a regular basis, and he had told us at one point he was like, I don't know if I need to go and use the resume builder on USA Jobs, or how do I even go about doing that? And he got with a couple mentors that he was talking to through the mentorship organization. If you go back and look at some of the videos with Justin, you'll see that conversation. But basically, he told us at some point, he was like, I just took my 2-page resume that I had created, that I'd really honed and sharpened, and I took that and uploaded it to USA Jobs, and then I started getting hits for like GS14s, GS15 positions, and I think he eventually took one of those positions, right?
Dude, that really works though. Like I was submitting a regular resume that I wrote on like Google Docs, and then I transferred all that stuff to the actual format on USA Jobs, and that's how I got my GS13 position. That's exactly how I got it. Like I was getting no hits on this resume, uploading my own resume, but when I uploaded all my stuff to the actual resume format that they need, that they're looking for, it was like, oh, you've been forwarded to this person, you've been forwarded to that person, and then one of them actually, called me for an interview, and then I ended up getting that position. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's those formats get sifted to the top or something. I have no idea, but it really does work from what I understand.
And I can tell you right now, like especially right now, like they've just extended the hiring freeze to 1 October, I believe, is when the cutoff is for the next extension of the hiring freeze right now, and that's for all government jobs, including if you're overseas, local national jobs. If you have a spouse, or if you're trying to yourself get a local national job, if you happen to be a dual citizen or something like that, hiring for the government right now is literally restricted, and I say that very loosely because there's ways to get things done. There's exceptions to everything, but generally speaking, if you're trying to get a government job right now, whether that's a GS job, a NAF position, appropriated funds, non-appropriated funds, you're going to probably get that roadblock in your face, and it's probably going to be hopefully spelled out in the job announcement on USA Jobs. If not, then maybe part of the interviewing process, they'll let you know, like, hey, we are trying to actively hire for this job, but the offer that we're potentially going to give you is not going to actually go into effect until after 1 October when the hiring freeze is lifted. Right. So that's one thing for sure to take into consideration right now with government jobs.
Give me 1 second here, man. Okay. I see Terrence is on in the background, but before we get to that, before we get to him, I want to give another shout out to commemorateconcrete.com. I'm looking at the responses here for the sign up sheet, and I'm getting responses coming in. So people are actually like submitting this stuff. So nice. a chance to win your own commemorativeconcrete.com standing stone. This thing is like 12 pounds. Okay, they sent me this, and they're actually doing a giveaway. They're going to send out another one, a military branch of your choice. Okay, it doesn't have to be Marine Corps. It could be Army, Navy, Air Force, whatever, POW, World War II, Vietnam veteran. But look at this thing. They sent me one of these. I have it out in my front yard. Look at the detail on that guy. It's like 12 pounds. It's got like the fuzzy bottom so it doesn't scratch stuff. Good for an office, good for a going away gift, good for a retirement gift or whatever. They can even engrave it if you want. But they are giving one of these away with the military branch of your choice. Okay, for one of our lucky listeners or viewers. All right, I'm going to share the sign up link here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, we got it on the screen there too, just in case if you want to take a screenshot. If you're watching, if you're not watching, then check down in the comments.
Yep, there you go. Sign up for the Commemorative Concrete giveaway, and it has to be one of their standing stones from their Those Who Served Standing Stone page. Commemorativeconcrete.com. Let me see, Bruce Daniels.
Of course,
but do they do warrant officer crest? Hey, you know what? It's not on their page. I don't know, but it might be a good idea. So if you want to bring it up to them, yeah. But here, let me share here what they do here really quick. Let's put it on the screen here. So Those Who Served, you got Seattle Police Standing Stone, POW, MIA Standing Stone, Buffalo Soldier Standing Stone, Border Patrol, Korean War Veteran, Iwo Jima, Fire Department, U.S. Coast Guard, Army National Guard, U.S. Air Force, Iraq Veteran, Vietnam Veteran, U.S. Army, Supporter Troops, U.S. Navy, World War II, USMC, which is the one I have here. So very cool. And they're covering shipping too. So can't hate on that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is very, very awesome. There you go. 12 pounds, man. This thing, you want to defend your home, somebody coming in, and you can't grab your gun in time. Just grab this guy and chuck it at him, because it comes with a lifetime warranty. It comes with a lifetime warranty. If anything happens to this thing, Justin over at Commemorative Concrete will cover the costs of replacing this guy. One of the best warranties I've ever heard of. He'll just replace it. It could be 5 years, 10 years from now. He'll replace it. He's just trying to do good by his customers. So commemorativeconcrete.com.
Fun times.
Yeah, man. So with that, I think we
Yes.
can bring Terrence on the line. We got Terrence in the background here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's kick this pig, man. Terrence, welcome to the
let's get
show,
it.
man.
Hey, John. Hey, Vic. Just want to let you know I love what y'all do. I'm a big fan of the show. I think y'all should be one of the top podcasts on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You know, I've been learning a lot. I've been listening to y'all podcasts for at least over a year. So want to say thank you for having me on, and I hope you keep on with the work. Seriously.
Absolutely. Well, we
Thank you, man.
appreciate it, man. That's awesome. So Terrence, man. So what? So you're big on the overseas retirement, right? As
That's
I
correct.
understand it, you're living overseas. Whereabouts now?
Germany.
Germany. Oh, that sounds amazing, man.
Oh, it is sometimes. It is sometimes.
What makes it not amazing? I'm curious.
Oh, well, well, like I said, one thing I will say, and I know each country is different, what a lot of people know. When you retire here, and I'm quite sure John knows this too, because he has history in Germany and stuff, is that when you retire, it's not like in the States where, okay, you retired, I can go to the commissary, PX, whatever, no question, to show my retirement ID, go about my way. Over here in Germany, you have to either be on SOFA status, because once you retire, unless you're a contractor, unless you're a GS employee or work for NAF, non-appropriate funds,
Right.
you don't have SOFA status. So everything you buy on base, you have to have it's called a custom tax card. Well, we call it a slang word, the pink card. And that's just Germany. Like in their eyes, you're not working for the Americans anymore. You retire. So that means you're going to start paying German taxes and stuff. And like, I mean, let's be honest, like the taxes, it really depends. Like some people be paying like 20, 30%. Like let's say you want to get that 100, plasma TV at the PX. Okay. I mean, depending if you get a good deal, you may get like $1,000 or $1,500. Well, if you got to pay additional 20% of taxes, German taxes, that which is euros, like, I don't know. I'm not that great at math. Like, it's probably like an extra 200-300 euros just for got to pay taxes and stuff. Like, it's crazy. So I understand it's a country, but I'm like,
is that even for
go ahead?
Like if you're retired and you wanted to use, I guess, your retirement benefits of using the PX or the NEX or whatever, does that also apply, like the German taxes?
I mean, yeah, it applies to all the German taxes. Like, I can't speak for Italy. I heard people who went to Italy, they don't care. They don't ask about the custom, but I know for a fact Germany is like that. So I'm not saying don't come to Germany, but if you want to like retire, like I don't want to work anymore. I just want to travel around Europe in my RV or whatever, live the true retirement to military life, then that's when you're going to have to start paying taxes. Now, that's just for, keep in mind, that's just for getting stuff on the PX commissary or just buying something in general and everything. It's like alcohol and stuff. Like, obviously, if you want to buy, something nobody really cares about, you want to buy like some bubble gum or, maybe some Monster, Dew, because they don't have Mountain Dew. Just putting that out there. They may be in a couple of years, but they don't have Mountain Dew in Germany. Not that I've seen.
So
you gotta look hard to find mac and cheese too. So
mac and cheese.
Oh yeah. Well, they have their own version, but I mean, it's not better than American.
Yeah. So that's I remember. So what I used to be stationed in Japan. I remember that there was issues bringing people on who were retired to the base, even with their retiree ID cards, because you have to have some kind of SOFA status to enter certain places, or even rent a room at the hotel on the base. Is that the same way over there? Like,
well, no, I mean, you can rent a hotel.
Yeah,
like
on the base,
hotel, you can still do that. Or if you want to sign someone in, you can still do that. It's just that, certain things you won't get. Another example is if you are truly retired, you get a mailbox, but honestly, that mailbox is probably just good enough just to get, letters. Like if you can get like a small package, then yeah. But other than that, they give you a mailbox, but it's to the point like it's almost not worth it And honestly, because you can't really get stuff, especially if you're a big Amazon shopper or eBay shopper, you're not going to really get anything because it's literally big enough just to get a small package in there or just letters or envelopes.
So what do you have to do to get a mailbox out,
But you
out of
do
town?
get a mailbox. Even when you retire.
So what are the good things about living in Germany?
You hear you like,
I
okay.
think the connection's locking up, I think, a little bit.
Reset.
There's got to
I'll
be
let
something good
Terrence-
about living in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Terrence get the connection back up and running and stabilized, but I'll throw this in there. Like, he's absolutely right with the tax stuff. And funny enough, you can still go to the food court. You can still go and get on the base to go to the hotel if you're traveling Space A or whatever. If you happen to be traveling Space A, you can do things like that. So you can get on and off the base. Yeah,
That's one thing.
hey,
One
Bruce,
bad
we
thing
need
about
to-
the one bad thing
we
about
need to
Germany
hire
is the
Bruce
internet.
on as our internet consultant to get this thing fixed. But yeah, so I mean, that's there's little humps like that when it comes. We get you back? No. If you want to drop off and come back on, man, that's
I hope
totally
so.
fine. If you need to reboot or reset or anything.
Sorry for the technical difficulty.
No, that's fine, man. It happens. Don't worry. It happens. It always happens on the live stuff. Man. Don't worry about it.
Part and parcel.
Yeah, if you got to reboot the computer or anything like that.
I'm not using that much bandwidth. Like I said, I'm not using that much bandwidth.
So Terrence, man, what is good about living in Germany? So you before that, are you a retiree or you're currently active or?
Like I said, right now, currently, I'm in the reserve, like the U.S. Army Reserves over here in Europe. Because, like, this will make a long story short, I was active like 15 years ago. Then, at PCS, and I always loved Germany. It was like my favorite duty station. So what I did was I came to active. I had got out for like a year and a half, and I said I want to come back, but I want to go back active because, like I said, my wife, she's Turkish, but she's from Germany. She grew up and born here. So I wanted to live here. So that's what I did. So I just joined the reserves over here in Germany. Then eventually I got, contract, NAF job, and finally I got a GS employee or DAC, Department of Army Civilian job. So that's how I'm over here right now.
Yeah. So share with us what you love about it. Like what's good about living in Germany as a military person or even a retiree. What good do they get out of that?
Oh, well, it's great because one thing the Germans don't do, they can't tax your military retirement, like I say. So if you're in the States, you're from the States, I can't speak which state for people from, because I know certain state tax military retirement. But obviously, okay, if you're over here, you're VA disability, 100% total and permanent, and you're and you're also military retirement, they can't touch it by law. They have no say of any of that, So if you're retired over here, you're not gonna get double tax. So that's one good thing and stuff.
Right.
And also, Germany is probably one of the few places overseas where, okay, if I need help with VA, they have VA representatives. They have contractors that work for the VA. Or if you absolutely have to go get seen, there's certain hospitals or certain clinics like Landstuhl, which is I think it's the biggest hospital in Europe as far as military hospital. If you have to get something in emergency, they will see you. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of places overseas that retirees live where they're nowhere near. Like, as a matter of fact, people in our reserve unit, there's people who live in Denmark. There's people who live in like Austria
Romania
and stuff. So they're like hours away from a military installation. So they will have to literally pay out of pocket to get reimbursed from the federal medical program. and stuff. But I mean, like I said, Germany is a beautiful country. You're in the middle of Europe, so depending on what part of Europe or Germany you're in, you can be 3 to 4 hours and be able to go to a different country and stuff. And like I said, if you also work for NAF or Department of Army as a civilian or a contractor, you get SOFA status. So you still be able to get the same SOFA benefits that you had before you was able to go before you was retired from the military. Because honestly, that's what a lot of people do. Like a lot of military guys, they come to Germany, they get married, they retire, and they literally just go become a contractor, NAF, or whichever one you get. So,
So what about like TRICARE? So for instance, like I have TRICARE retiree, right? I got TRICARE for, I don't know, I think they call it TRICARE retirees. Is that you talked about VA, but what about using your TRICARE benefits out there for healthcare? Is that a thing, or do they even
absolutely.
recognize that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because especially you buy a military town, like I give you an example, like Kaiserslautern, and they call it Little America because this is one of there's more Americans that's probably living in Kaiserslautern than any other place in Germany, in the German city. There's probably like 40 or 50,000 Americans working in DoD government system, and that's not including Department of State. That's not including contracting, and that's not including people who just retiring and working for the German economy. But yeah, you can use TRICARE overseas. Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think TRICARE overseas is way better than foreign medical program, because the thing about I know they're working on changing it, because part of my additional duties is being in the reserves. I'm a reserve service officer, so I help process people retirement. And one of the great things about the TRICARE reserve is that if there's a German clinic or doctor or whatever their profession is, you don't have to pay up front. They're going to build TRICARE because they've been dealing with TRICARE so long. But the foreign medical program is literally like a crapshoot. Like some German physicians and doctor may take, they want their money up front, or some they might just get on the back end. And I know with the foreign medical program, it could take 3 to 6 months. But I mean, let's be honest, like some people, they don't have that additional cushion like a military retirement. Like all they have is a disability. So paying for 1,000 or 2,000 euros for a medical treatment, that could be a lot.
It's a lot.
So I highly recommend, I tell people all the time, if you can retire, like use TRICARE before you use foreign medical program.
So you've sparked my curiosity now with all this moving overseas. And I say that because I've got children, but my wife and I just recently had a talk about potentially moving elsewhere after the fact, just for maybe like a year at a time or something, while we rent this place out, our home here, travel the world after the kids leave, right? After becoming empty nesters. But should we do that before our youngest moves? What can you tell me about like DoD schools? So if you're a NAF employee, do NAF employees have eligibility to put their kids in DoD schools on the bases?
Yeah, absolutely. The goal is to be NAF, DoD civilian, obviously military, and contract. Now, the thing about contract, and there's a lot of people, I didn't learn this because when I first came to Germany, I was a contractor, and thank goodness I left. There's some contract jobs, they're not going to give you SOFA status, and not only there's so many different types of contract. Like I know where I work in now, I work with like 3 contractors. They get SOFA status, like they can shop at the commissary, they can get gas or the PX, but they will not pay for their children to go to DoD school. So a lot of their kids, they either go to the German school or they go to their home school. So that's another thing when people realize it really depends on the contract. If the contract say we'll pay for DoD schools for your children to attend, no problem. Some contracts say we'll give you SOFA status, but we're not going to pay for that. So it really depends on the contract that the contract is using.
Well, that's good to know. Read the contracts if you're going to go for a NAF position or a GS position overseas.
Oh yeah,
that's good to know.
Oh yeah, and like the DoD school is, just thinking of like just thinking of an international school. That's basically how I could put it. Right? They have teachers. Everyone speaks fluent English, and they also make your kids take a foreign language. Like literally, like 'cause I used to be a contractor at DoD, a IT contractor, and literally, like you're gonna have to take 2 languages. Like while the school was there, the kids they had to take German. It wasn't an option. You had to take German, but they also can take French or Spanish, or depending on what they have or how big the school, they could probably take Latin. Like those are the option. But you was going to take German, especially if you was in middle to high school. The elementary school, I don't know how old your kids are, but the elementary school, they just send them to a class each day to teach them about basic German, you know, like what's the food and stuff. But I see the deal with these schools is great because I mean, that same thing you have in the States, they have football team, basketball team, cheerleading, they have prom. It's like they do their best to make the DoD school just as the same as being in the United States. Like when they have football games, they go to different DoD schools, to Italy, Belgium, to play football, basketball, soccer. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I've had great experiences with DoD schools. I think a lot of times they're better than some of the schools here in the States, as because they do get, from what I understand, the teachers there do get they choose, I don't, the words are escaping me, but they have some of the better teachers that go out there, right? So they have a large selection of applicants, and they really go through all that stuff. And at least the teachers that my daughter had when she was growing up were amazing, right? And we had some incredible experiences out there, you know. And this was in Japan when I was stationed out there. My daughter was going through the school, so I had to believe that even in Germany, going to play football in Belgium or something like that, it's probably better than going to the next school here, next town over. So what an incredible experience, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh yeah, the DoD school. And another good thing about DoD schools is that, let's say hypothetically you wanted to become a teacher, because you know we always shortage of teachers, especially being a DoD school and stuff. Not only will they, you know, pay for your move like you're in the military, but you're not on a time limit, because that's one thing when you start working, even as a contractor. Because I just had a colleague that's in the military reserve with me. He literally had to get out the contracting world because he was there for 20 years. Because after so many years as a contractor, he was there literally from 2004. So he was there for 20 years. And they said, hey, you can't be a contractor anymore. You've been here so long that the Germans going to think you're, for lack of better words, double dipping. So you're going to have to go chill. You're going to go back to the German system. But when you work as a DoD teacher, they can stay over here. Like literally, I met a lady when I first got here as a contractor. She was here since the 80s. So she was here before I was even born. And she was just doing the same job like she was doing since back in the 80s, just teaching elementary kids and stuff. And she didn't have to go. She didn't have to PCS or anything. I don't know if she's still working there or not, but she was already there 30 plus years.
That's awesome, man. So gents, real quick, I got to cut out of the conversation, but it's going to keep going with you, Terrence and John. I got another appointment here shortly, but Terrence, it was great meeting you, and I'm sure we'll connect more either on LinkedIn or elsewhere. John, keep it going, dude.
Thanks,
Vic.
Kicking off
thanks for having me on. Like I said, hopefully we can do it again in the future.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So, John, are you planning on? You want to come back one day?
No, we're good. I've got time. We can keep going. Vic just had to dip out because he had another engagement that he had to get to. But,
that's fine.
I'm glad you made it to the show, man. Really was looking forward to this conversation. And if you get a chance next Sunday, we're gonna have a guy named Tim Leffel on who runs a newsletter called Nomadico. He's written a few books. He does travels all over the world. He's been a digital nomad before the term digital nomad was even a thing. And he's going to be on next week, and we're going to be talking about a lot of the same kind of stuff, like getting out of the United States, getting overseas. So, but yeah, I actually want to dig into real quick, if we can, and I feel like it builds into the conversation, as an RSO for the reserves over in Europe. First, if you could maybe give like a quick synopsis of what exactly the Army Reserve is overseas and how that works. And because I know there's probably a ton of people out there, including myself, that never knew it existed until you actually came across it and you're like, whoa, we have units over here. We got a lot of people over here doing reserve duty and stuff. And it's really cool because, like you said, there's people living in Romania and Bulgaria and like all kinds of different places coming to the reserve unit on the weekends to do their drill weekends. But if you could just give me a quick like synopsis of like what the Army Reserve in Europe does, and then what you do as an RSO for the reserves.
Okay, like I said, the U.S. Army Reserve Europe is probably like one of the unique places to be in the U.S. Army Reserve, because honestly, I didn't even know about it until I got out here and stuff. And
yeah, I totally didn't know
there
about
there
it.
are recruiters. Yeah, there are recruiters. Believe it or not, there are U.S. Army recruiters in Europe, and their job is to, if you got out and you want to come back into the active duty or the reserve, that was the case. And like, it doesn't matter where you are at. If you're in Romania and they need you to fly to Germany to process, no problem. They'll pay for your flight and put you in a hotel and everything. So just putting that out there. If anybody interested coming back in the military, there are U.S. Army recruiters in Germany. I mean, I know a lot of people don't know about that because unless you live here, you wouldn't know, but that's just put it out there. But U.S. Army Reserve Europe, I mean, we help. Sorry about that. We still like I said, we help with the active duty, like most reserve in the state. So like if the active duty need help with some type of logistical support or any other type of support as a U.S. Army Reserve element, we help with Europe. Same thing with field exercise, because the Army always has field exercises with other NATO forces. We help out with that. We help support that. So like I said, we're the support out here for reservists and stuff. And the great thing about being out here in Europe as a reservist is like you get the best of both worlds. So, you know, you probably see people coming from the States to over here. Well, we'll get first dibs. So if somebody needs to go to Romania for a TDY exercise, or somebody needs to go to Bulgaria, obviously we will be the first to go than somebody in the States, because honestly, less a logistical nightmare and less expensive. You know, the Army's about saving money sometimes.
This year, no.
No, not this year.
They're cutting all the budgets this year.
But, you know, honestly, that happens almost every administration they do. There's always a big change. So it's just history repeating itself and that stuff. I mean,
that's right.
You know, we'll weather through the storm. We'll always have some type of leadership that may not be aligned with stuff, but we'll weather through the storm no matter what. Won't be the first time. Most definitely won't be the last time.
Yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Whenever the election came up and Trump got elected into office again for a second time, and he started making all these really fast changes, and I was like, everybody was like, oh, everything's going crazy. I'm like, we've been doing continuing resolution for quite a long time. We've been doing stuff like this for quite a lot. This is nothing new. Like, it maybe seems like it's a little bit faster, which it is. And I think it's actually good that people are actually doing what they say they're going to do when they start campaigning for office. A little bit harsh, a little bit rough around the edges with the delivery, but yeah, this is nothing new compared to the last 200 years. It's been pretty much that way for a while.
Yeah, just like it's like a spinoff of a TV show. Like,
yeah,
most of the times the same, maybe different characters, but the same settings, the same.
Exactly. It's the Grey's Anatomy 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
What
just
it is.
Grey's Anatomy, except maybe in the South instead of Seattle.
Right.
But like,
exactly.
But
real
part of my duty,
DC.
Yeah, but like part of my duty as a retirement service officer, my job is to make sure all their documents are prepared before they submit, because it's the same thing with active duty or even with AGRs. You have to go to retirement briefing. It's not an option. You have to go. If you don't go, you won't be able to retire. So you have to go. And so one of our job is to like coordinate with S1 or Brigade S1 or higher to like with seminars, because we're making sure we prefer to do in person, because like we could do virtual, but I'm the type of person I want to be face to face, because that's just me.
Right.
And to me, it's like a great thing to be able to help someone in their career in a honorable way. You helping them after serving 20 plus years serving their country with a way. And so, to me, it is a great feeling and position to be able to help someone in a respectful and honorable way to end their career and all that stuff. And so our job is to make sure everything's documented. Just like I remember you had another gentleman on your show. I forget the name of it. Things about retirement points, right? Retirement points are very important because, I mean, let's be honest, everybody's human regardless of their rank. We may have done some active duty time that didn't transfer over here because retirement points are basically how much your retirement pension is going to be paid. So if you did, let's say 2 or 3 years of active duty and came in reserve, if that didn't transfer, we look at it and say, hey, you might want to say we can help you get this added so you at least get a more compensation for your retirement. Because like I said, when life happens, you're not looking at the full details until towards the end. Just like your goal is to prepare for retirement. You're trying to think of what's my next chapter in life, not, oh, well, I should have put this stuff. Because you know how it is. When it's trying to get access to military stuff, once you retire, is a lot harder because you no longer have that CAT card. They just give you that retirement ID CAT now and, be on your merry way.
Yeah, that's right. When you deal with folks transitioning or retiring out of the military, even if they're Title 32, which is pure reservist, or maybe you deal with Title 10 AGRs as well, how much interaction do you actually get to do directly with like HRC back in Kentucky, and how much interaction do you get to do with the local transition assistance program on the ground there in Germany?
I mean, we're like there for the most part, start to finish. Like we get people to come to the seminar to bring up all their documents, any orders and stuff on any retirement paperwork. And first thing first, we make sure that, everything is accurate. And another thing is about the SGLI for the life insurance. We make sure that's good to go because a lot of people, and it happens all the time, like they want to give it to their wife and then they are divorced, but they don't change it. And then
right,
when a new wife comes or something happens, we have to tell them like, man, with all respect, but he or she didn't put the paperwork in. So unfortunately, this is going to the ex-wife. Even though they got a divorce, if you didn't let us know, or you didn't let the dears know, how are we supposed to know? I mean,
right.
Like I said, we don't have an automatic system to know whether you retire, whether you got divorced the second or third time or not. So unfortunately, like I said, AI hasn't gotten that advanced, not in my life. So, but yeah, it's like we make sure the paperwork work. If somebody orders is not accurate or their retirement, then we submit a packet to HRC to make sure can they fix this. Because, like I said, I'm gonna use myself as a prime example. When I got an active duty and I came to reserves, all my active time was not transferred. So literally, I had to get all my orders when I was active duty and get my DD-214 and also LES. And that's another thing I tell people all the time. LES is proof that you were on orders because orders get amended and revoked all the time. And we tell people that, like, if you can get your LES or you can talk a DFAS, do it because that's proof that you were on orders. So that's another thing we tell people. You can get the LES, get it. I mean, we'll take a DD-214 and we'll take orders, but that's not always accurate. And so once we submit the paperwork, like once I submit my paperwork, like I say within 2 or 3 months, they used all my active duty time and was able to transfer to the reserves. So like I said, we're here to make sure everything's good to go. I mean, and even when you retire, you go to the retired reserves. Unless you're under 6 years old, you undergo the retired reserve. And the great thing about that is that we can still technically help you. If we can't help you, then HRC has a great Army retirement branch that can help you. And so, because like you can still reach out to us, don't get me wrong, but like we're going to be limited because you're in a different category than us.
So as
So
far as your own retirement coming up, how much longer are you going to do, and when are you looking to like hang up the uniform and be done with it?
oh man, that's $1 million question. I
Well,
because
how much
like
time do you have total,
because
like active and reserve time combined?
I
Like how
have
much time do you have total?
I have reserve time. I have like 6 years, and active duty time. I have like um close to 12 and stuff.
Okay.
So theoretically, in 2029, I could retire. But as I always say in the army, uh, do it till you don't love it no more. And obviously, I've been in this long, so obviously I love it. So when it gets to that point where I don't love it, it's not fun anymore, then I drop. As of right now, I'm still having fun and everything. And then, like I said, I haven't decided what path I want to go. Like I'm still,
Right.
young enough where if I want to go to maybe warrant officer corps or the officer corps, I'm still young enough to do that, just to see the other side of the military. But as of right now, I don't know. Maybe it'd be 10, 15 years. Maybe I'll do it till I'm 59, 60. Who knows? But I'm always thinking about that exit sign. I mean, honestly, I tell people this all the time. Even young soldiers come in, always think about that exit sign. I don't care if it's 20 or 40 years from now. You're going to hit that exit sign. So it's better to prepare than not prepared and stuff. Just like me, I'm guilty as being a young soldier. Like I didn't really have financial education when I first came in, So obviously I wasn't very great with money. Obviously I got better as I matured and got older, but if I tell a soldier straight up, hey, start saving or investing your money as soon as you get in. Like forget all this brand new car or all this partying. Like if you can, like I say, if you can go out every weekend, you can save at least 5% of your salary, a month, a base pay, if you were to call it. So that's my best advice to people. It's like start saving and invest as soon as you get in. I'm talking about as soon as you get the AIT, your first unit, start saving and investing. Because I tell people this all the time. You don't know how much money you're going to need when you retire, especially if you have kids. Trust me on this.
Yeah, and if you're in Europe, one way or another, like it's very enticing because A, you're in a new place. B, you've got so many more opportunities to go out and hang out and party and shoot the breeze and go hit clubs and all that stuff. Plus the travel opportunities that are afforded to you when you're overseas. So as far as overseas living is concerned, I have my own perspective on it because I've been to both places, lived in Germany, lived in Italy, both currently live in Italy. But was there anything that you wanted to discuss specifically as far, because I know we brought up like a couple, like the commissary and PX privileges and how that differs depending on what country you're in. The ability to potentially maybe travel between places, what kind of things that you need, like passport wise or things like that. And maybe just like figuring out options for housing, things, where to live, where to stay, those kind of things.
Well, I mean, me personally, I tell people, and I personally think this is xenophobic, but it's way above my pay grade. Try to stay in a place that's not near a military base. The reason I say that is because, I right now live in Kaiserslautern. So they have Germans who literally would not rent to other Germans because obviously it's the same thing if you was active duty over here, you would get overseas housing allowance. And the Germans know Americans are going to get that overseas housing allowance. So they can charge like $2,000 or $3,000 a month for rent. And they know Americans are going to pay it because they're getting that money. And, I tell people, like, if you don't want to deal with Germans like that, you just want to live nowhere near where people are going to overcharge you. I say, try to at least stay 30 to 45 minutes from where you work, if you can make that drive. And I know sometimes people don't want to make that 30, 45 minute drive to work. So I tell people that. I mean, it's easy to get housing because it's the same thing in the States where you go to your housing when you first get to your unit and they give you a list of places that you want to go. They do have places that's outside of the area that you work in. It just, are you willing to make that drive? That's the key, because obviously the farther you go from a military base, the less expensive it is. Like I know people who stay like 30 or 45 minutes away and they don't pay nowhere near the prices they would pay with someone who lives downtown in the city. I'm quite sure it was like that in Vincenza too, as well. Like someone who probably stayed 30 or 40 minutes from Vincenza would not pay as someone who's getting an apartment in downtown Vincenza.
Yeah, good. And the other side of that is what your comfort level is. Like if you're trying to replicate your house and your backyard and that kind of environment that you had in the States, potentially overseas, like you kind of have to move near a military community or move on the on-base housing if it's available or something like that in order to kind of replicate that American environment that you're used to, if that's what you're trying to replicate. But if you're not trying to do that and you're trying to get outside of your comfort zone a little bit and kind of explore and take a full immersion step into the culture of where you're staying at, whether it's Germany or Spain or Italy or wherever it happens to be, you kind of have to get like remove yourself from the community a little bit. And 30 minutes is a big deal in European standards, because in the States 30 minutes could be literally like across town, the other side of town. In Germany or Italy or something like that, you're potentially, a lot further away, 30 minutes out. Like 30 minutes drive from Kaiserslautern is almost well, not quite Mannheim, but it's pretty far.
Yeah,
you can get pretty far in 30 minutes on the off.
There are people who live in Mannheim and work in K-Town, believe it or not, like and stuff. Like I know a couple of people who live in Mannheim and stuff, and that's their right. I mean, they have no problem making that 45-minute drive and stuff, because it's like I was like that. Believe it or not, I was doing that. Like when I was living other places, I literally drove like an hour for work. It wasn't nothing to me because they were compensating me, not for the gas, but they would compensate me a month that it was worth the drive. And I understand that like some people, if they're not a high GS or their contract job's not paying that much, it's probably too much for them to make that drive. So I get both places. And the other thing is that me personally, I want to integrate with the culture, because I notice and I get what the Army does, especially when I lived in Korea and everything. They try their best to make overseas like the States as much as possible. They know they can't do everything, but they try their best. You go to the Old Bay house and it's very similar to housing. It's like, you have a house, the backyard is pretty big, versus in Germany, a backyard maybe is not going to be that big, or maybe a quarter or half the size of a backyard and stuff. And so I tell people, if that's what you want, then you probably want to stay close. But if you don't want all that, you want to experience German culture, go 30, 45 minutes away. And another great thing is it forces you to interact with the culture, because, like I said before, the military tries their best to integrate everybody. Because when I first lived in Germany, like 15 years ago, the apartment I stayed, it was all Americans. Like the only person that was German was the maintenance man. I think it's called a Wehrmeister. He was the maintenance man. He didn't really speak good English. So, I couldn't really interact with anybody that was German, like, and stuff, like, let's go to a restaurant. So I said, okay, I'm going to do my best the next time I come to interact. And so, when I met my current wife, she, I was able to interact with the Germans. And I'm not fluent in German, but I can say my German got better than I was the first time, because I was first to learn it. I was first to try more different types of food and everything, because you've been to K-Town. Like K-Town catered to so many Americans. It's almost like it's not German. Like, yeah, they do have a German restaurants, but like they have areas where you don't even have to speak English or even eat German food, because they cater to Americans so much and stuff. To me, Vincenza isn't like that when I visited Vincenza, but it's been like a couple years, like 4 or 5 years since I went to Vincenza and stuff.
Yeah, good. Even here, it's where I'm at down south, it's really not that way. Like the base is kind of secluded and isolated from the main part of the city, and it's often the distance and out on the outskirts of the city. So it's really secluded, but everything right there around the base, like there's a couple of restaurants, there's some spots, and then they have the housing area and then all that stuff, right? Everything right directly around the base is literally Americanized. Like they have, American food, American speaking English, that kind of thing. But once you get outside of that and come closer to the city or anywhere else around here where I'm at, it's very much Italian. So you get full immersion. And I mean, granted, I think everywhere in Germany, everywhere I've been in Italy, and many other countries around Europe, in my travels over the last 30 plus years, I've had experiences in very remote places where I've bumped into people who speak English. It's not really so hard to find people speaking English. It's really more of like, do they feel like their English is good enough to speak, right? Because most Germans nowadays, from the very early ages of like, preschool all the way up through their college, they are taught English, at least at a bare minimum, they're taught English. So it's not like they're not taught the language. Same here in Italy. I think a lot of Italian schools that I've visited, doing like some community work with the local base community and the local schools around the area, doing some volunteer work. A lot of those kids speak English really, really well. So it's not like they're not taught the language. But yeah, if you want to experience the full immersion and get away from it, but again, it depends what your personality is, what you're looking for. Maybe you want to come over to Europe and you don't want to experience that. There's people that I know that have lived in Europe for many years who don't have anything to do with the local nationals and the local economy and don't speak the language, right? So,
oh yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I kind of feel like it's an injustice, honestly, because
it is.
It's like, because you like literally, I have a friend. He's been here since 2001, and he doesn't really speak German. Like he know the basic, like guten Tag, auf Wiedersehen, yeah, with the that type of stuff. Because he had like a basic conversation, no, and I'm like, we'll like as Americans, if somebody was to come to our country and not learn English at 21, you know how like uproar we would be for that person. You've been living here 20 years, but it seemed like in Germany, it is, there are Germans who complain about it, but it doesn't seem like it's a huge deal to Americans. So I'm just like,
no.
Well, you shouldn't be talking about people who come to the United States who don't speak English when you're not even attempting to learn German or get better at it. And so, I mean, like, I'm sorry, like 20 years, like if you was here for 3 years, got it, no problem. But 2001, so 24 years, no excuse. Sorry, no excuse.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. So as far as sticking around Europe, what are some of the options that you discuss with people whenever, and we don't have to get into details and specifics. I don't want to dox anybody, but as far as speaking to folks who are transitioning out of the military or speaking to folks who are retiring from the military over there, and generally speaking, I would say the retirees are going to be Title 32, right? So 59 plus years old.
Exactly.
Okay. So in those discussions, what kind of options do you, or conversations do you have about folks who actually want to stay overseas? Because there's got to be a handful of them, right? Not everybody. I can imagine a lot of them want to go back to the States, maybe, but there's probably a reason why they're there doing, 10 years of reserve time in Europe, working at the base maybe, or working for a local company on the economy. What kind of conversations do you have when they get to that point where they're transitioning out of the military or retiring, as far as their options and what they want to do and where they want to stay and what they're trying to do in Europe?
I mean, I ask them all the time. I mean, like, is this going to be a permanent thing, like staying over here, or just something temporarily? Because, if you plan on living in Denmark, that is your right, but just know your resources and options are limited. Like, because a lot of them who works in different countries, they work for, like, say, a local economy, or they look for like an American company out there that has a institution out. Well, maybe not infrastructure out there. Like, there's a lady, her husband works in Ireland, working on a project for some company, and so she's a reservist out. She comes like every other month, flies from Ireland to Germany to do her drill stuff. So I always ask people, what is the end goal? I mean, like, because that's your right. Like, if you don't, long as like, hey, as long as I get my retirement pension, I don't care. I don't want to go on the base. I don't want to think about the military. I did my years. I'm proud of my service, but I wanted to strap in. That is your right. But if you're the type of person, well, I still want to get some American amenities. I still want to go to the gym. I still want to take space A. Then I tell them, well, you don't want to be too far from a base. I'm not saying you need to be right 5 minutes from the base, but I say you don't want to be too far from the base, because, let's be honest, like, the United States has way more resources to support veterans than they do in Germany. I'm not saying don't do it, because plenty of people who do it, but if you need to talk to someone from the VA, if you need to talk to, the casualty assistance, because we have people who help, like if your husband dies, and you're now an Army or military retiree widow, we have people who can help with the whole process, with the funeral and everything. Because that's our job. Our job is to point you also to the casualty assistant as well for retirees. So,
right.
And like I say, especially in Germany versus you're in Denmark, I mean, it's going to be more of a challenge. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I'm quite sure they're going to have to get the Department of State or U.S. consulate involved if you're in a place where there's no military or people who deal with the military so much. And like I said, I tell people all the time, like, what is your end goal? If you want to stay not too far from base, that is right. If you want to go off the grid and don't look back, that is your right too. I mean, like I said, I met a guy, and that's another great thing about retirees. You can still use space A. You're allowed, and when you're retired, you get the same benefits as a retired active duty. You can use space A and stuff. I mean, but you're going to be the same categories, category 6. So, you're going to be category 6. So active duty going to just bump you off. So just keep that in mind. So I tell people, you want to take space A, don't take it during the summer. Like right now, don't take it. They take it during Christmas. Other than that, you should have no problem traveling. But it's like I was telling people all the time about it. I met a guy who was doing space A. Like he said, he hasn't lived in States in years. Like he go fly back if he go to space A, but he just takes space A and just travel over Asia and Europe, just, get to his next destination. He got his bag. He's, his wife died. He doesn't have any kids. So that's his new lifestyle, which nothing wrong with that and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to touch on the space A thing, because it's one of the things that we've discussed over time. Not necessarily directly on the podcast. I think we've addressed it a couple times on the podcast, but there's a couple videos. If you go dig through our channel on YouTube, you'll see a couple videos in there to talk about space A. And I want to kind of bring this up, 2 points about what you had mentioned, traveling Cat 6 versus Cat 3. You're definitely at the bottom of the dog pile when it comes to getting on the ship, or the plane, excuse me. But if you plan it right, and depending on what port you're going through, whether it's Ramstein or somewhere Spangdahlem or something like that in Europe specifically, or other locations over in PACOM and Pacific, if you plan it right and you kind of keep track of the schedule and you keep in constant contact with the AMC passenger terminal wherever you happen to be traveling through, you can sign up for space A travel up to 60 days before you actually go. So if you can space out that time and plan it out to like the week that you're planning on going, or maybe the 2 weeks, give yourself some padding of when you actually want to go, and then kind of back plan from that, like 60 days or 75 days, so that you can drop your request, at that 60-day mark. So when you come up to the passenger terminal, actually get on the flight, like you're actually going to be somewhere higher in the standings than somebody who just put the request in 2 weeks ago and are trying to fly in 2 weeks, right? So I'll say that, Cat 6. And also for those who may be not retired, just getting out of service for whatever amount of time that they served, and potentially have like 100% PNT, you still can travel space A, but it's very limited. It's not like you can't travel to Japan or Germany or whatever as a 100% PNT Cat 6 kind of person, because that's another kind of retirement status, or Cat 6 status. You can fly continental US. I believe you can fly to Hawaii and potentially Puerto Rico, so US territories, but it's still within the continental kind of United States scope. So the second thing I want to say, and I don't know if you have anything to add to that, or if you got any comments on that real quick.
Oh yeah, as you know, got to play chess and checkers. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. 100% total permanent. They cannot fly overseas like Germany, Japan, or any Asian country. However, they can fly to U.S. territory. So hypothetically, let's say I'm living in. I'm just going to throw it out there. Let's say I'm living in California and I want to go to Japan. Okay. Travis goes to, I used to work as a USO volunteer 10 years ago when I was living in Hawaii. You can literally take from Travis to, you can usually take Travis to Hawaii because they fly like 3 or 4 times a week to Travis. And I know for a fact Hawaii goes to Guam. It may not go, and it goes to Japan, but you can't fly, but you can go to Guam. And then you can just literally, I know for a fact Guam and Japan are not that far from each other. As a matter of fact, a lot of people in Japan, they either go to Guam or they go to Hawaii for their honeymoon or vacation. So yeah, you probably have to spend them a little extra money, but if you really want to go to Japan, like just fly from Hawaii to Guam and just buy your commercial flight from Guam to Japan. I mean, it's the same thing with like Europe's more challenging, but Asia, like you got Guam right there. I'm like, why not? That's how I look at it.
Yep.
Yeah, like
And
look at that.
Yeah, I just literally just pulled it up. This is in euros, of course, so it's a little bit more than the dollar price would be, but supposedly from Guam to Tokyo, it's like $500. Yeah. So I just want to pull that up real quick while you were talking.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you gotta be strategic. Like, yeah, okay, can't take a space age straight to Japan, but I could take it to Guam. If that is close, I'm going to get to Japan. Then so be it. I'll take it.
Yeah. Or
like,
yeah, there's some destinations that if you want to try to get there, you got to kind of, and many times that I've traveled on Space A, you got to have like a plan B, not because you need to enact it, but because you potentially need to take that path in order to get to the destination where you want to go, whether that's taking a hop from the States to Europe, if you're able to do that, and then from there taking commercial to, Romania or whatever, if there's not a military rotator or a military flight available to go to some of those places. And sometimes if you get to a passenger terminal and you look on the screen in the passenger terminal, sometimes you'd be really surprised at some of the places that they fly to, like Iceland, and like I think there's a couple passenger terminals on the East Coast maybe that actually fly down to like the Bahamas, somewhere down there. Like there's a couple flights, and I don't know how many seats they have available for those flights, but you'd be really surprised. But yeah, you have to kind of factor that in, and factor in that kind of cost estimate for if you get on the ground and then you want to travel somewhere else, or if you get stuck somewhere traveling back and you need to like take an alternate path, like I had to do from Travis, actually trying to get back to the East Coast, to Atlanta, to Baltimore, and then down to Atlanta. I literally had to take a commercial to somewhere else. But I think I just took a commercial straight back to Atlanta, but I had to eat that cost because I sat there for a week, and then I sat there for a couple more days, and I was like, we're not getting out. It's not going to happen. So
yeah, I mean, that's another thing I'll tell, because I've been taking Space A for years. I mean, and stuff, like, you got to think about it as, California, Travis is the West Coast, and anything, is technically the West Coast, and it's by the Pacific Ocean. So that's how they think. Like, anybody that's in Travis, if they trying to go to the Pacific, they have no problem. But getting to the East Coast is more of a challenge. The same thing when you go to BWI, Baltimore, or Andrews Air Force Base and stuff, or the Fort Dix Joint, or the other base, the Joint in New Jersey. If you're trying to go to Europe or somewhere in the Atlantic, it'd be no problem. So, like, if you was trying to go to Atlanta from, you know, one of those places or someplace in Georgia, it would be no problem because it's on the East Coast. So that's why I tell people, like, yeah, if you're trying to use Space Aid the whole way, you're gonna be playing the waiting game for a while. But if you are flexible and have the finance, if you're flexible and have the finance to, like, hey, I don't mind paying, you know, for a commercial flight, okay, then, you know, it's all good and stuff. Because I get it. Like, when you got a family and you're trying to get somewhere, like, okay, I get it that, you know, you're trying to get there because you're on limited time and stuff. But if you just are a real retiree who just don't have anything else going on, you're just traveling, like, what's staying in 2 or 3 extra days to get to the next destination, you know? So, yeah, I tell people all the time, don't take it during the summer, don't take it during the Christmas holidays, and you'll be a-okay. And make sure you're trying to take it to a certain destination that you're trying to go. Like, you want to go to the Pacific, take Travis or SeaTac, you know? If you're trying to go to Europe, take BWI, Baltimore Washington International Airport, or take Andrews Air Force Base. No problem, because I flew from both and I had no problem getting to my destination. That's why I needed to go.
Yep. And I'll throw this up there too. This is something I wanted to really talk about real quick. I guess this is the perfect time to talk about it. But starting in October 1st, and this is from the U.S. Transcom, which is based out of Scott Air Force Base. They handle a lot of the international transportation command for the U.S. government. But the Patriot Express routes, starting 1 October, for basically the route from Jacksonville, I think it originates in Jacksonville, goes to Rota, Spain, then it goes through to either Naples or Sigonella, then down to Incirlik, and then down to Suda Bay. That path, or that kind of, what is it called, the route is going to be shut off starting 1 October. So if you're thinking about flying to Naples and you had that available before starting 1 October, that will be gone. And I'm not 100% sure. I've only been hearing it locally and kind of talking to people about it, but I think at least for where I'm at, they're going to actually start to also cancel any passengers on any other flights going out of Sigonella. So I don't know if that's going to apply to all the places. And I know Rota in itself is an actual Spanish base. It's not a U.S. military base. So the units and the folks that are on Rota are actually just tenants on that base. So it's a lot different story as far as visas and traveling in and out either way. But yeah, that flight path is going to be closing very, very soon. So if you're trying to get overseas to Europe, Turkey, Italy, Spain, or Greece, and you want to do that this year, you might want to get on that, because after October, it's probably not going to be an option, at least going directly. You can go then, of course, through Ramstein, and then from Ramstein, like we said, you can take commercial down to Italy, or commercial down to Turkey, or to Greece, or wherever you need to get to.
Oh yeah, because I didn't even know they flew to Greece. I do know that there's a base where the airborne people from Vicenza, 173rd, fly go. I think I stood on this base.
Aviano.
Aviano. So if your goal is to get to Naples, but you're in Ramstein, you can easily just take a flight from Ramstein to Aviano, because I know they go there at least a couple of times a week, and just take rent a car or just take a bus to Naples. I mean, like I said, you got to be flexible. You got to be strategic. I mean, if they shut down base, that don't mean you can't get as close as possible.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something about that real quick, and then I'll address this question that we've got, and you can check it out while I'm talking. Like personally, and again, depends on if you have kids or not, but I've actually also traveled space with my children all the way across the globe, and then taken multiple trains to my destination. So it's been like 3, 4, 5 days worth of traveling with my kids. And at the time they were pretty young. They were both under 10 years old. And we schlepped like, a dozen bags with us. It was a big, crazy, insane trip, but we made it happen, and we got to our destination where we were trying to get to. But I will say this: if you are trying to go down to, say, Italy or even Greece or Turkey or something like that, Spain, me personally, like the train systems and the bus systems as well, but the train systems in Europe, all across Europe, not just in Germany, but in Spain and Italy and all these places, you can take a train from Germany to get pretty much anywhere in Western Europe, at least. I don't know about Eastern Europe, depends on how far you want to go down on the eastern side. But in Western Europe specifically, like if you're trying to get to Spain, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, any of those places from Germany, even Italy, like it's really a nice experience to get on a train and just ride the train, especially if you're going to like Naples or Rome or something like that. Like you can take the train all the way down the coast, the west coast of Italy, and see like the Amalfi Coast and the ocean and the views, and go through the Alps, and it's amazing. I would almost defer to a train instead of a plane. Of course, you got to be used to riding a train, and you got to put up with maybe some delays or canceled trains, just like anything else. But I personally would recommend, like if you're trying to get down to, say, Rome, I would personally take a train from Ramstein or K-Town and just go straight down. And it's a couple $100, probably not more than that.
Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, it's the same thing with you driving. I mean, there's certain landscapes and scenery you're not going to see by flying. So if you have the time,
Exactly.
You're patient, like I recommend driving from Aviano to Rome or Naples. That's for me. But I understand that may not be some people could teach. Some people say they're on a time crunch, so I need to take a flight to get there as soon as possible, which that's their right and their problem and stuff. But like I said, I mean, I hope one day they open up the bases again, because like I know how the military works. They stop doing something, and then if enough people want it, they'll bring it back again.
Exactly.
So hopefully. So said, yeah. So you got the question.
Yep.
You want me? You going to answer? You want me to answer it? How you?
Go ahead, man. Whatever you got to say about
it. Yes, there is. There's this website this lady has, and because her husband is a retired military. It's called Pop and Smoke, literally, like pop smoke, like gone. Has a lot of great information. Like it has places that Space Aid goes. It has a little bit of information about the city, and she actually interviews certain people who lived in certain countries, like military retiree. Like I read one article a couple years ago about this retired military person. He lives in Italy because his wife's Italian, and he works on the base, and he just, they live in their Italian home and in a little small Italian village. So yes, this is a great website, Pop and Smoke and everything. They used to have a Facebook with Space A, but because of security reasons, they stopped. They completely stopped. So now Pop and Smoke is your new resources for Space A.
Yeah. And if you need to, like really the horse's mouth is the AMC website, the amc.af.mil. If you can't see it, I can probably put it in the comments or something. But the AMC, just search amc.af.mil or AMC Space A Travel or whatever. The other one, Pop and Smoke, is just literally popandsmoke.com. But this is the horse's mouth when you're trying to do Space A Travel, and I think it's the AMC Travel site, right? Should be. And they're letting us know as well. Patriot Express route is closing. But if you scroll down on the AMC Travel site, if you just search AMC Travel, you'll find it. Depending on where you're trying to go, let's see, media resources. Doesn't say specific location, but here you can go through and dip your toes in. If you're trying to go to EUCOM, which is European Command, the CONUS terminals are basically all the stateside terminals. Indo-Pac would be Pacific. So Kadena Air Base, Japan, Hickam Air Base in Hawaii. There's a place in Singapore. I don't know how easily it is to get to Singapore with Space A, but that'd be kind of sick. But they do have a passenger terminal there. But if you just go to the passenger terminal webpage on any of those, and then you can see directly. So let's see. Our flights serve bases in Japan and Diego Garcia exclusively. So they only fly to Japan and Diego Garcia. So if you can get to Japan, then you can potentially get to this air base, which would be kind of sick. Singapore. Nice. Approved by Republic of Singapore Air Force personnel. Passengers should submit space available requests at least 3 working days in advance. Representatives. So this is where you would go if you need to get the detailed information. And usually they have these little icons here on the side, which is like the 72-hour schedule, 30-day schedule, and then the roll call. If you just click on those, it should bring up some good information. Basically the same stuff that they used to put on the Facebook pages. But these are the actual documents that you would get, and they'll tell you where they're going and how often they're going. The other resource that I would point you to is the old website that I still kind of manage and run, but I haven't touched it in a while since we've moved to our new military retirement podcast.com website. Is the retired.army website that I used to run. And I actually went through and grabbed as much information as possible and made this really kind of super simple. The problem is sometimes they update these links, and when they update the links, then the links break. So keeping up with this stuff, my salute to the folks at Pop and Smoke or anybody else running a Space A travel website to keep track of some of this information. It's difficult because they literally are updating stuff all the time. Like I'm sure if I click on, let's see, Guam. So let's click on roll call and see what happens. Huh. So at least it brings you to the passenger terminal site. It doesn't bring you directly to the roll call or the schedule. But either way, that's good to know. But yeah, I've gathered at least all of the European terminals, a lot of the East Coast terminals, a couple of the bigger terminals across the globe, and I've kind of consolidated them here into this thing. If you bring it up the site retire.army and you look at the top, there's a little hidden button here called Space A Beta, and if you click on that, then it brings up this. You can actually search terminals. So if you're looking for Hawaii, let's do, I don't know, California. Nope. Spain. Okay. There we go. That works. So yeah, you can actually search through and look for different terminals if you want to. Italy. So it should be 2, Sigonella and Aviano. And also Naples should be in there as well. But yeah, I haven't updated it in quite a while, but it's definitely there to use as well. If you need to, Pop and Smoke is awesome resource. And of course, the AMC page is where you get the firsthand information, direct access. Like I said, you look for these couple buttons. Not every passenger terminal has these buttons, but most have at least 1 or 2, if not 3 of the buttons. So you can get the 30-day schedule, the 72-hour schedule, and that kind of stuff. And I think they've actually combined these together, right? Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, they have.
It's half a month. But this is like
end of June. Another thing, another thing I was going to say is that, I know Patriot Express is a airline that's contracted with the Air Force. So with that being said, if you want an actual flight that you actually have a seat and not have to have a sleeping bag and a pillow, then you want to take Patriot Express. But if you don't mind, you know, sleeping on the floor with a sleeping bag and stuff with your family, by all means, go for it. I've done it both times, right?
Yeah.
Took Patriot Express. It's like, I mean, yeah, everybody preferred Patriot Express. Everybody preferred to have a seat, an actual airline seat. But hey, if you're trying to get the destination, as they say, beggars can't be choosy.
That's right. I mean, if you want a seat on a military flight, a nice, decent seat on a military flight, you're going to have to get onto it like a C5 or a C17. And they have that kind of upper deck seating, and some of them depends on the seating configuration of the bird. But yeah,
it was
I agree.
We flew like that when I was in Afghanistan to Kuwait and Iraq, so we were like that. So yeah, if you can get it, because
right,
they usually don't tell you what type of. I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. They usually don't tell you what type of flight or aircraft it is. When you
generally speaking, if you're looking at the site, you can check and see if they've got the bird listed and they've got the available seats listed. You can look at the seats and tell like kind of what kind of plane it is, whether it's a big plane or a smaller plane. Also destination, right? If it's a really, really, really far destination, then usually it's going to be like a C5 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But again, depending on the configuration, they could be hauling like helicopters and tanks and stuff in the back, and they have everything on top like closed off, so you're going to be in the jumper seats either way. So
I mean, best can't be choosing. Like when I was dating my wife, when I was coming to see her from the States, I had no problem sleeping on the floor with a sleeping bag. I had no problem at all. Like if I only got to pay like $30 just to fly to Europe, I'm not going to complain. I'll sleep on the floor.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's not for everybody, but I mean, if you have the time and you have the luxury of being a little bit flexible with your schedule, I always recommend at least taking one SpaceA flight just to try it out to see if it's your thing or not. Because you can listen to everybody else, and some people tell you it's suck, and some people tell you it's whatever, but you're never going to actually know until you actually get on the plane and go through the experience and go through the waiting game and looking at the the seating chart, and you're like, oh, they're calling the next 15 people. Like maybe I get seat number 77 and it's the last one, right? So I mean, you've done that a few times.
Yeah, I've done it a couple of times, but hey, as long as they'll get rid of SpaceA, I'm willing to make adjustments. I mean, if I want to go to Greece, then I'm just gonna have to be flexible and and just have to take a commercial flight to get to some of the destinations. It's better than paying the full flight from the destination in there.
For sure. And nothing like a little box lunch with a sandwich and some sodas and some fruit in there.
Yeah, I mean, at least they do that. I think it's like $3, if that, $4, if that.
It's not bad. It's okay.
So
what are some other things?
I hope they never disband it. I hope not. But with the administration, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and you don't know if it's going to reverse itself in a couple of years whenever the administration changes again. So.
Exactly.
What other kind of things that people need to be aware of or think about if they're trying to retire or get out of the military and live overseas, generally speaking? Like what are some kind of some considerations that people might need to think about that they might not intuitively think about when they're thinking about living overseas or moving out of the country, out of the United States and moving out overseas?
Well, yeah, like there's a book online and I can see in a link later, or I should have a link. It's called the U.S. Army Reserve Handbook. And with that handbook, like it doesn't tell you everything, obviously, but they tell you what to prepare for. Just like you want to get in touch with somebody from the Department of State, because they are the ones that's going to help process you for your Social Security and stuff. Like, we just deal with military retirement and point you the right direction for VA. If when it comes to Social Security, all we can do is tell you to call this number, email, and we give you the form. Because I'm quite sure if you pay into Social Security, you won't. So you paid into it, you want something in return. So that's another thing. It's like find out. We'll help with people with this, but make sure that you have every contact of a Department of State, depending on what country you stay in, whether it's Denmark, Hungary, Italy, because they always have somebody who can help with like Social Security, passport, and everything. And like I said, if you really once you out completely not working for the military or SOFA status, contracting, etc., also be prepared to. They want to know how you're living here. They're not going to, I can't speak for Italy or other countries, but I know for a fact Germany cannot tax your military retirement or VA disability or Social Security, for that lack of better words. But you have to disclose how you live here. It's like, let's face it, just because you live in there, the Germans want to know how you live in there. They don't want you to basically live off their system. If you have money, okay, just disclose it, no problem. If you don't have money, then you have to be do some coordination. And then depending on what type of visa you get, like if you have a family visa that your wife is German or your kids are German, you have no problem staying here. But be like some people, I know some gentleman, he was retired military officer, he got a divorce and he's staying over here. No children. He has to do like a retirement visa, so to speak. And then with those type of visa, and most visa like this, and I can't speak for other countries, but I know Germany like this, they're going to make you learn the language. That's just part of the deal. Like it's the same thing when before I had got a job as a contractor, I thought I was going to go in the German system. And I literally was about to finish before I finally got the job. But I literally was going to have to fill out the paperwork. I had to take a German class, and they would tell me what my level of German is. And they was going to tell me, okay, you can come Monday to Friday to the German course, or you can come Saturday to Sunday. But you're going to have to go to the German course sooner or later, so to speak. So for lack of better words, I didn't have a choice. Like I was going to have to learn German. And I think that a lot of people need to get that and, learn about the country. If you want to stay in Germany as a retiree, you're going to have to learn the language once you completely retire. You want to stay in Germany. But, as long as you have the SOFA status, you don't have to worry about that. Just like I know a buddy of mine, one of my best friends, he joined the Navy, I joined the Army. He's thinking about wanting to go to Thailand because he's 100%. He's single with he's divorced with no kids. He's talking about going to Thailand. He said that's one of his favorite countries. And I know Thailand, all they want you to know is as long as you have a certain amount of money in your account and you show that you have a steady income, you can come. I can't speak where they make you learn Thai. I don't know, but I know Germany, they will make you learn eventually.
Yeah, that's a great point you make. And it's definitely something to consider. If you're planning on staying in the country, like you're planning on relocating and staying in Germany, relocating, staying in Italy, relocating, staying in wherever, in Czech Republic. I got a friend who's just retired, and I think he's bought a house there in Czech, and he's getting ready to move there and live in the house in Czech Republic. Just quite interesting. But yeah, if you're not planning on learning the local language, like you should probably either be dating or be married to somebody who does speak the local language, or B, at least learn enough conversational language to get through. And also, depending on the status, if you have a retiree visa, or if you have any other kind of visa or a family visa, even your residential status is going to dictate whether you have to pay local taxes or not. And that's depending on if you have a job, don't have a job, if you're retired, not retired. There's a lot of different scenarios. And so I could say this, like if you're going to pay taxes, or if you end up paying taxes because you take a job on the local economy or something like that, even if it's just a little job, right? And you start paying local taxes in, say, Germany, you probably should know the language. it's gonna be a helpful thing for sure. I want to see if we can tackle this question. I like Drew's comment, by the way, really good. Let me put it back up. He said, start preparing a year out and get the exit appointments scheduled and benefits lined up. Also start applying for jobs if you need to do a smooth, if you would like to do a smooth transition. Don't wait until the last minute. That's a great comment.
Absolutely. Like, that was one of my big mistakes because, you know, I didn't know to like 3-4 months before I ETS what I was going to go to reserve, not go to reserve, what I was going to stay in Europe or not stay in Europe. And like, you know, me being so indecisive, it caused a lot more problems for transition for me. If I had better plan a year out, like, yo, I'm going to live in Germany, I'm going to go to reserves and everything would have been way more smooth for my transition. So I highly agree with with them. Just if you know you're gonna live somewhere, retired, what is reserve, VA, whatever, go ahead and start a year out. Just go ahead and start planning because, you know, as they say, you know, if you don't plan, you plan to fail. So, so yeah, that's my best advice and everything. It's the next person may relatively to cast and imagination.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this in the beginning a little bit, but we can dive into it a little bit deeper just in case Patrick came in a little bit later.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Patrick,
like I said.
Yeah. I just want to read the question real quick for those who may be just listening audio only. Patrick's question is relevant to this episode. OCONUS access to care has been a massive issue for civilians, retirees, and even active duty at some locations. Any thoughts on strategies for retiree medical care, OCONUS or overseas?
Like I said before, you have the foreign medical program. You have that. And also what you can do, if you don't know the list, if you have access to the base, or if you have access to the VSO, Veteran Service Officer from the American Legion and stuff, they can give you a list of places that would take the foreign medical program or TRICARE, because that's who helped me. Like, they would tell me, hey, go to these places. They take the foreign medical program and TRICARE. Mm-hmm. And as I said before, when you said master issue for civilians, retirees, yes, I won't sit here and lie. Launch stool is more of a challenge for people who not retired or military or active duty, like launch stool. Like a launch stool is basically catered to majority of active duty. I'm not saying that retirees can't be seen in launch stool, but obviously active duty is going to always have the first priority no matter what. And, you know, civilians can, you know, they have the insurance, but it's because, you know, like I'm a GS employee and I in the process of trying to use TRICARE because I was using civilians, but all they're going to do is, okay, you're going to pay and you get reimbursed. So basically the civilian insurance overseas is basically the equivalent of the foreign medical program. Honestly, it's just you pay, the doctor is going to give you the bill and you pay and you go from there. Because like nobody has ever accepted overseas my civilian insurance, and TRICARE, no problem. Everyone else, it's just is a no-go. Yeah.
And I'll say this for the at least for the 20-year AFS. I mean, so Patrick's follow-up, counting on an MFT, I think you mean MFT. What is that? I don't know what MFT is.
I think it's a military treatment facility.
Okay. Yeah. So that's, I mean, counting on any one thing is not a plan for sure. Hope is not a plan. But I'll say this for active duty retirees, at least from that perspective, the AFS, because I don't really know from the reserve side. I mean, I know reserve retirees and I know some that have stayed overseas. I was actually at that unit in Kaiserslautern. We moved from Schwetzingen, Germany to Kaiserslautern in 2008. I think it was 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, where we actually had the unit that now encompasses the units that you're in contact with on the ground there in Germany. So the area well, I know the specifics of the situation there well. For a 20-year active federal service retiree, I have had zero problems myself, not my family members, but myself individually, not being 100% PNT, to get access to the local medical facilities on the base. It's just a matter of giving them my DoD ID. They run it back and check it with the system and see that you have TRICARE. I guess it's TRICARE for life is what it would be called.
Yeah.
And so having that, I'm able to access the medical facilities on the base. Or if I go to Germany, same situation. I can go to Landstuhl, I can go to Ramstein, wherever I need to go, Wiesbaden. If something happens and I happen to be in Germany and near the base, I can actually get to that. Yeah, thank you for that, Patrick. So for 20-year active federal service retirees, yes, you have access to the medical facilities on the base. Granted, they're depending on where you're at and how big the facility is. If you're at Landstuhl is a huge hospital. Like it's a legit full service hospital. Like that's where they initially bring folks back from Afghanistan and from overseas, Iraq and all those places. Whenever they get injured, they bring them to Landstuhl first to see if they can do as much, triage and help that they can before they then stabilize them as best they can and send them off to Walter Reed or back to the States, wherever they need to go. So that, in that case, that particular location would be a place where you can get probably a lot of things done. In my particular instance where I'm at, it's a very small base and they don't have a lot of specialties on the base at the hospital. So a lot of the stuff that I need to do, whether it's a dermatology appointment or some kind of physical therapy treatment that they don't offer or anything like that, like if I need to do any of that and I go through the military base hospital, they generally just outsource it and send me out to the economy. And whether that's with a translator or not, they send me there. In some cases I have to pay up front. They can reimburse those costs. So it just depends on your status. But for 20-year active federal service retirees from the military, you definitely have the TRICARE, and then you can add whatever medical insurance that you want to add beyond that. If you're working as a GS civilian or a DoD civilian, you can actually add your insurance program on that as well and use that in lieu of using the TRICARE. So you have a few options. But also on that same note, right, like medical care in Europe in general is set up as a system that's meant to service every single citizen in the country, right? So in Germany, they have universal healthcare. In Italy, they have universal healthcare. In Spain, they have universal, healthcare. And I'm not saying it's the best in the world because obviously it's always going to have its ups and downs and flaws like any other place, but they have the means to facilitate healthcare for as many people as possible at no cost to them or very little cost to them. So the healthcare on the economy, if you happen to have a visa or you're living on the economy in another country and you have that kind of not citizenship status, but the residency status, right? And generally that means you'll probably be paying taxes. And generally that means you'll probably have access to the healthcare system in whatever country you happen to be living in.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, Europe has a way better universal healthcare system than the United States. And like I said, depending on the facility, they will see retirees. Now, like I said, I can only speak for German in the place I've been. And it was like, you're going to have to go on base because even some military spouses, family can't be seen at certain clinics. I'm quite sure Landstuhl, no problem, but you have smaller bases while you work in used to live by, like Ansbach, Hornsfeld. They don't have the infrastructure to see family members all the time or retirees. So I'm quite sure Armstool has that capacity. But can I speak for Baumholder? Can I speak for Vilsack, Germany? No, I mean, I can't. And plus, like I said, there's not as many bases in Germany like it used to be. Like you was here back in 2008, there was a lot more bases in 2008. So I'm quite sure retirees had no issue. Now, now it's like in the States. Like when I used to work at Fort Stewart, they had a certain clinic for retirees where they can get seen. Like active duty couldn't go there. You know, if you wasn't a retiree, you wasn't gonna get seen there and stuff. But like I said, Fort Stewart is a big base. They have a lot more infrastructure to support retirees. So, like I said, being overseas still has its challenges. I'm not saying you won't get help, but if you're trying to get all the same amenities you have in the United States, then you know you're gonna be a little disappointed. Yeah. But like I said, the foreign medical program, and this is my fault. I should have mentioned earlier. The foreign medical program only is going to cover things that you have a service connection for the VA.
Right.
So it could be a 0%. If you got a 0% for, hand spasm or plantitis, okay, that's still connected. They will see you for that. That's what they're going to reimburse you for. So if you have a shoulder problem, but you never got service connected for your shoulders, then the VA is not going to reimburse you for it. You just out of luck.
Yep. That's a great point. Yeah. A lot of the stuff that the VA does is depending on service connection. And that's why it's so important when you're putting together your packet, or if you're getting close to retirement and you have the ability to, and I don't know if they do that that's actually an interesting question that maybe you have to answer, but if they do a sort of a BDD program for reservists, like Title 32 reservists who are getting to retirement age, do they do a BDD program for them? Because they're able to put in VA packets along the way throughout their career, right? So every time you come off of 30 plus day orders, every time you come off a deployment, if you come off of some kind of long Title 10 orders, then you get the DD 214 and you can go through that whole process, and you can actually do and line of duties and things like that as well. So you can actually put in VA claims all through your career as a Title 32 reservist, or at least that's my understanding from talking to many folks and being a Title 32 reservist myself. But do they have a BDD program for Title 32 reservists who are coming up on retirement?
I honestly don't know the answer. I know because there's reservists who's already collecting VA disability and stuff. So I don't want to give you the wrong inaccurate answers, because like when you're in the reserve, you can file before you retire. You can file for VA disability. You don't have to wait till you retire. That's what a lot of people don't know. I didn't know that either. You don't have to wait until you retire to file for disability while you're in reserve, because you're not on active duty status.
Right.
That's a lot of people don't know. Now, like I said, I don't know we have time to really go in detail, but like there's pros and cons of getting your traditional monthly battle semi pay and your VA pay. There's pros and cons to that, because by law, you're not allowed to get both. You can do this, subtract it. So let's say you're 100%. I think 100% right now is $4,600 a month. And let's say your regular Ballot Assembly pay is $500. What you can do is go to your HRS1, fill out paperwork they can send to the VA saying that like, hey, he's going to be Ballot Assembly all these months. So subtract $500 from his VA disability pay and we'll pay him that way. And that's what some people do. It's like they can get both. You just can't get both at the same time. You can get both at the same time, but it has to be subtracted, for lack of better words. That's just the rule. That's just the law. I didn't make it. Maybe we can change it one day. Maybe we can talk to your congressman so they can have it on the NDAA 26 or 27. So just putting that out there. But
does that actually, because I know for active duty retirement, right, and that's a totally different pot of money than being a reservist. But on the active duty side, whenever you have 20 AFS and your is at 50% or above, then because 50% or 49% or below, they actually prorate the VA pay. So they say, okay, you're making your retirement pay, but this chunk of VA pay that we're giving you, we're actually going to pull that out of your retirement pay and replace it with the VA pay. Once you get past the 50% and above, then it goes outside of that realm, and you get your full retirement pay plus the VA rating pay that you would have at 50, 60, 100%, whatever. It's actually additional money. It's usually tax-free for the whole thing. Did they do that for the reserve pay as well if they get above a certain rating?
Oh yeah, they do. Like, yeah, they do that for reservists too. Like, you know, if you're retired and you're not at a certain percentage, you can't get it. You know, you can't get both, whatever the case may be. But I mean, honest with you, not saying they don't deserve it, but most of the people who are under 50%, they were like, you know, pre 9/11. Like, they didn't deploy. You know, if they deployed, they went to Kosovo and all that. Like, it's just from my experience, I talked to people who are less than 50% or less than 100%. There was the one who didn't go to Iraq, Afghanistan, or Kuwait, or any of those places, or Syria during the past 20 plus years. That's just from my experience. I mean, I tell people this all the time. I mean, that's why you have the VFWs and the American Legions. They're the people who are going to aggravate for us to forward it. When they're the one that has the meeting with the Congress to talk about what's in changes. So I personally believe, whether you're 50% or 100%, you're entitled to both. That's just how I feel. Like, I feel like you serve your country, and if you had any disabilities, it shouldn't matter if you're 40 or 50%. You should get both. That's just how I personally feel. But, you know, I didn't write the law or sign it into enact. So my best advice I tell people is literally, seriously, try to talk to your congressman, or, like, I know someone told me this, write a letter, because I know people trying to call, email the Congress. I'm like, you know how many emails and phone calls the Congress office gets? But I mean, if you actually write a letter, that shows, you know, effort and dedication. That's what someone told me. I personally haven't wrote a letter, but I'm not opposed to writing a letter.
No. Maybe that's what I need to do with the VA secretary, is write a letter instead of trying to send them direct messages through LinkedIn and X.
And like, most of the time, they got a secretary or admin assistants managing their emails and stuff. I mean, it makes sense. Like, if you're a VA secretary, if you're a senator, you got like 4 or 5 offices in the country. Like, there's no way you have that kind of time. I mean, you've been there. Like, a general usually have someone who's managing his emails and phone calls and appointment. They don't have the time to do that themselves.
Throw this up real quick from Daniel about the CRDP, concurrent retirement disability pay, that what we were just talking about, above 50%.
Yeah. Now, I'm quite sure you heard about this, John, because I have a buddy who's like this. If you have the combat related disability, you get that off the rip, no matter what. It doesn't matter. Like, if you got medically retired, like that Melody Hurd, this happened to a buddy of mine. It's like, he was a Sergeant First Class. He got, you know, hit during, you know, he didn't lose any limbs, but he got hit during I think it was either Afghanistan, and so to speak. So he only did 13 years, so they medically retired him. So he applied for the combat-related concurrent disability, CRSCE or CS, and he's able to get his military retirement and his VA disability. Now, he's 100%, obviously, but the problem is, like, most of the time, you can't get both. If you medically retired before 20 years, you can't get both unless you was in a combat-related incident. And I know I'm not eligible for that because, you know, as far as, you know, like I said, hopefully I never got hurt doing that. So I wouldn't qualify. But certain people who had to retire before they hit 20 years and they know they got medically retired from a combat-related incident, like got blown up or shot at, and they had to medically retire, they can get both. They have to you know, go put in their application and documents to show proof, and they'd be able to do that.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the. I hope I'm getting this right. The CRSC,
Let's take a look.
combat related special compensation.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You know.
Yeah. See if I can bring that up. Yeah, so it's got a couple stipulations in here, but yeah. I think you're right on point with what you were saying. And if you get medically retired, then technically you're retired, right? It's not it doesn't say you have to be 20 years active federal service retirement. It just says you're retired, whether that's 20-year AFS or medically retired or otherwise retired, and have a 10% rating and currently have DoD retirement payments reduced by the amount of VA disability payments. Yep. So,
yeah,
a couple things in there, but yeah. VA website. You can find a lot of interesting stuff on there. Sometimes they're getting.
Oh yeah, there's so many pros and cons about living overseas. Just like I was at drill today, so balance in me, and I was telling that gentleman that like you can also tell with the viewers too and stuff. Like you can use your GI Bill overseas. All colleges overseas doesn't take the GI Bill, but you can. As a matter of fact, Heidelberg. The University of Heidelberg, one of the oldest universities in Europe, they take the GI Bill and stuff. Now, I can't speak how much BAH you're going to get. That's not my subject matter expert, but obviously you will get BAH for using it in Germany. And I really, like I said, they're not going to give you OHA. They're going to give you BAH, whatever the rate is right now, which I forgot what the rate is right now. But I highly, tell people that, like, you can, like I said, I mean, if you do your research and plan, you can really make a great living. I mean, make life great for yourself living overseas as a retiree and stuff. I mean, me personally, like I say, the USA is my home. That's my home. I'm going to always go back. I'm always going to support my country regardless of what's going on with the administration or not, But at the same time, I mean, will I rather raise my kids overseas? Absolutely. Like they don't have to deal with the stress and what's going on right now and stuff over here. Like I'd rather raise my kids in Europe. So maybe in 10, 15 years, I might move back to States temporarily once my kids get grown and older. But as of right now, I don't see that happening.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like for some people, for me personally, it's one of those things where I'd lived in Germany for quite some time, and coming back now, my intent is to stay here. So that's for me, but it's not for everybody, and that's really if you want to just travel, if you want to go stay somewhere for a couple of years. I don't think people really grasp the fact that theoretically, and again, it depends on what your lifestyle is, what kind of lifestyle you're trying to lead overseas, whether you're trying to replicate what you have in the States, in Europe, in a 3,000 square foot house with a big yard, which you're probably not going to find unless you're a millionaire or a billionaire. But there's certain places in Europe and certain places in the Caribbean, certain places in South America, and many other places where you can go and you can actually live there for way less than your mortgage or your rental costs in the States, just the rental costs. Because rental costs in the States are, upwards of, depending on how big of your apartment is or whatever you're renting, it could be $2,000, $3,000, depending on where you live. You could easily take that money and live somewhere overseas in the Caribbean, South America, some places in Europe, probably some places in Asia, for well within that, just that chunk of money that you spend on rent or even a mortgage, depending. You could actually live comfortably and pay for food and pay for transportation and live a really nice lifestyle, even if it's just for a few years. You could potentially do that and really make the best of your time and be able to enjoy it. And, assuming that you got the right visas and the right paperwork and all that stuff is taken care of as well, right?
Oh yeah, like I said, I mean, like I said, I mean, I really, like I said, coming to Germany is probably easier for a military retiree than going to Denmark, where there's not a lot of resources or advocates for you over there. So, I mean, I'm not telling nobody where not to live. I mean, you got military retirees living in Thailand, and
No.
like I said, and I know for a fact, unless it's like some super squirrel stuff, that there is no military base or U.S. military base that I'm aware that can support veterans. And that's just the pros and cons you take. If you live in that's your right. You want to live in Hungary, Thailand, or Indonesia, that's your right. I mean, your retirement is going to go very far if you live in those countries. But besides with the language barrier, you're going to have to like probably deal with a lot of visas issues, language barriers, and who you're going to go to if you get sick. I mean, I'm like I said, me personally, I don't know anybody in Thailand that's using the foreign medical program. I mean, I can't speak in Hungary or Thailand or Indonesia.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of things to consider, and again, hopefully from that standpoint, outside of the military, just the travel perspective and the ability to get visas and the ability to move in and out of countries and the ability to do things outside of the United States. Definitely going to be touching on a lot of that next week as well, when we come back for our guests next week. This week, definitely tying it into military directly, military retirement, reserve duty, which is something that a lot of people didn't know that you could do overseas. It's a very real thing, and if you wanted to take that path, that route is always available. I'm sure they're always looking for folks to come over and join the reserve units over there and fill the ranks a little bit, because not everybody wants to stay in Europe and be a reservist. So,
oh yeah, absolutely. But I mean, you'll be surprised. I mean, like, because there is benefits. I mean, like, you get a cat ID. You're able to shop at the PA. So I was saying, you get TRICARE. So there's pros and cons of being a reservist. I mean, I don't think there's nothing bad about being a reservist. But I have to put this out there. Even as a reservist, you're not a full-time status. That need to put that out there. You're not a full-time status. You don't get SOFA status being a TPQ, so you would have to
it's not a free job.
Right. Like, you can still do stuff in the military, like shop, take space aid, and all that type of stuff, stay in a hotel room, but or sign people in on the base, but there's still limitation to that. And it was one thing I was going to say. Another thing I was going to point out as well, even like being a reservist, and I tell people this all the time, okay, because we have people who live in different countries like Denmark, Hungary. Like, there's a guy, he's a lieutenant colonel. He lives in Hungary with his wife. He speaks fluent Hungarian, which kind of, perplex, kind of like, I don't like using words I don't know how to spell, but surprised me because, Hungarian is a very hard language. So I was actually impressed that he speaks fluent Hungarian, but he lives there. When you work for these companies, they don't have the same privilege and benefits. Like, okay, I'm a GS employee, so they just change it. I can take up to literally 4 weeks or a month off to take care of military duties and military business. I have that leave to take care of that. Yeah. Other people, when you work for the Germans, and I'm not being disrespectful about the Germans because everyone has their own culture, they're not as veteran supported as well, because my sergeant major, he works for the Germans, and he told me straight up, they don't have any type of military thing for the military in the German system. Like, if you want to do military duty or you want to work for the Germans, for the German Bundeswehr or whatever the case may be, you take personal leave. The same concept with when he comes, does his drill about it, he takes personal leave to come to it. Like, so if a balance statement starts on a Thursday or Friday, he can't do it because he doesn't have the leave to do it. And so I know some people want to work for the German economy, which that is your right, but that, you know, besides with the taxes, you got to keep in mind that like they're not going to give you extra leave because you want to serve your country for the United States military. As a matter of fact, they could technically terminate you because, you know, you're not protected by USERA by no
Yeah.
means over here. So I tell people that all the time. You're more than welcome to work with the German system, but remember, there's pros and cons working in the German system.
Always trade-offs, man. Always trade-offs. Well, hey, I want to be really respectful of your time. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you spending time with us today. I know we kind of got the time things mixed up a little bit and wasn't able to completely line those things up. But that's all good. It's all good. We're here to take care of those things and move along as we need to move along. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to get to, that you wanted to bring up or talk about or mention that we haven't yet before I let you get out of here so I can let you get back to your day, man?
I can't think of much of anything right now. I mean, like, I think I hit all the top spots of what I needed to say. I think I mentioned about the foreign medical program. They're going to eventually start doing direct deposit reimbursement, but as of right now, you get a check. You don't get
Right.
You know, a lot of people get offended about that, and then especially if you don't have base access, that could be a challenge to cash a check from the VA at a German bank or bank. So just putting that out there. Stuff. I heard they're in the process of doing direct deposits, which that would be ecstatic. You know, I would be ecstatic. But as of right now, as we speak, that has not been implemented yet.
Yeah. And if you do get a check, right, there's definitely options that you could do outside of a bank inside the base, which would be like having a bank that's connected to military, whether that's a Navy Federal Credit Union, USAA. And I'm not recommending any of those. I use a couple of them personally, but just options that you could use. You know, most of the federal credit unions, like Service Credit Union's another one that they actually have branches in Europe. USAA, a couple of those different banks that you can actually do the online deposits with your phone. If you have the phone with the app and you're able to do that, that's one way to kind of navigate that that kind of speed bump. But yeah, it's definitely a challenge if the only way to cash the check is to go on the base.
I mean, like, yeah. So hopefully I'm quite sure most veterans have Navy Federal, Service Credit Union, or USA. At least I do. So I'm quite sure most retirees or veteran or service member have one of those three banks.
Yeah. And if you don't, then you definitely should. Definitely should have at least one of those and have a few dollars in one of those banks.
As soon as possible. Yeah. But other than that, I can't think of anything. I mean, I would like to come on the next show whenever y'all have, and you know, like I said, great mind thinks alike, and maybe we can like talk about stuff that maybe I haven't missed. But so far, I think I hit all the major hot spots that comes with living overseas and everything, especially you want to come over from the States and everything. Like I tell people this all the time, like I think his name was Patrick who said it. Like I highly recommend if you're going to come to Europe, what is it, Japan, Italy, or whatever, go ahead and start doing it now, because I know they have this rule, but you can get a waiver for like retirees, like military retirees. They have to wait 6 months to work for the federal government, but you have options. You can get a waiver if they really are adamant about bringing you over. They can give you a waiver for that. And another thing is, and you know, I understand it's a pride thing, but sometimes screw your pride. Like put your pride aside. I literally saw a guy, he wanted to come back to Germany and he wanted a GS job, but he couldn't. So he literally retired from Fort Campbell, came back to Germany, and he was working at Popeyes. I mean, because Popeyes will give you SOFA status. I mean, may not be your ideally job, but if you're trying to get SOFA status so you eventually can be a contractor or federal employee, hey, screw your pride. Like, if your goal is to get in that system, I don't mind. I would work at Popeyes for 6 months to a year if I know it would help me get to my goals. Same thing with the commissary, post office. Like you can work at those places until you get to what you want. And yeah, it may not be your ideally job, but you have to put your priorities, to get what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to definitely set what's your priority and then put everything else out of the way and kind of focus on the priority. That's for sure. I agree with that 1,000%. Especially if you're a retiree, especially if you've got an active duty retirement check coming in or something like that, or even a reserve retirement check after a certain age requirement. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I was the same way. Like, before I became contractor, I did work at NAF as a teen youth center. I work at the youth center, and I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the most funnest jobs. I got to interact with kids, play video games. I used to go travel. Like, I had fun. Like, was it the best paying job? No. I mean, like I said, like, I had to swallow my pride from serving my country and working as a teen center, yeah, but I honestly had fun. I have no regrets working. Like, as a matter of fact, whenever I retire, I wouldn't mind doing that again, just driving kids around, taking them to fun places, mentoring them and stuff. So, there are plenty of options for people if they want to come overseas and get SOFA status. There's plenty of options. It's just, how flexible are you and what is your main priority?
Yep. Great, man. Well, look, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show today. Definitely hit me up. We'll try to work something out for another episode in the future. And I learned a lot. I hope everybody else in the audience who's listening or watching learned as well. It's been an educational chat for sure, man. I really, really appreciate it. It's great to talk to you. Great to finally see you. And if you're ever down here in Italy or whatever, just let me know. Hit me up, and we'll go grab an aperitif. And
hey, thanks for having me. Like I said, I've been a big fan of your show. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that y'all keep going the way you're going, you're going to be one of the top podcasts, because we need people like this, because there's really not a lot of podcasts that's talking about retired military. They mostly just talk about current events or other stuff.
Hot topics.
Hot topics about the military or what to do in the military. And those are very imperative. They were good, but we need a podcast for retirees because, as I said before, you're going to hit that exercise sooner or later, whether you want to or not. So it's best that we have, advocates or groups to give us advice and mentor us on like how to transition to the next chapter in our life when we hit that exercise. So thanks again, John, for having me. If you come to Germany, just let me know. We can maybe not paint the town red, but
definitely paint it blue or yellow.
We can explore. All right. Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it,
man. Thank you.
All right.
And thanks everybody out there for listening, watching. Really appreciate your time, all your comments, your suggestions, and your support of what we do. Again, if you feel like you need to, we definitely only sponsor this show by ourselves. It's all self-funded. We are the sponsors of our show. We do that through our book. We do that through you, the service member, the retiree, the veteran out there listening, watching, and supporting us through these social channels and social media and streaming and podcasting. We really do it to try to help you in your journey from military to civilian life. And so, if you want to support us even more, beyond just watching or listening to the show, the book's right there. It's 10 short chapters. It's something that you can get your hands on. It's very accessible. It's a very quick read, and for yourself or for anybody else that that may be getting out of the military anytime soon, it definitely helps us to support the channel and build the channel up to what we need to build it up to. With all of that, thanks, Vic. Glad you were stuck around for a little while, and hope the appointment goes well. Thank you, Terrence, for coming on. Appreciate you a ton. It was a really great conversation. If you want to see more about travel outside of the United States, travel in general, and some of the more detailed information about visas and moving around to different countries and how to live outside of the United States. We will definitely be having a conversation about that next week, next Sunday. So stay tuned. We'll see you again soon, and be safe out there. And we'll talk to you later. Out here.